The game over screen filled his monitor, and he closed it instantly, complaining to his empty room that this survival game was unplayable without cheats. Ice Age was a brutal survival nightmare where he'd been stuck in Act 1 for days. Hundredfold boosts, infinite resources, and instant kill mods. All too boring. Then a strange name on a mod listing site caught his eye, an item called Unstable Mutation. He figured this looked interesting, dragging the file into his mod manager and launched it. The startup music had barely begun when a grand, mechanical voice synced itself directly to his mind. The game update finished, entering open beta right now, and in exactly 60 seconds, every single human on Blue Star between 16 and 50 years old would be dropped straight into the game. The voice called this a world perpetually shrouded in severe cold where most creatures had gone extinct, but life always found a way. After the game began, he would descend next to a bonfire, the fire of survival and civilization, and around it he had to build his territory if he wanted to survive in this cruel place. His screen lit up with the Ice Age logo. He did not waste time wondering where the voice came from, scrambling to a nearby box of clothes and starting to yank on whatever he could find. The countdown ran out, and a magnificent voice rolled over him with a flood of welcoming him to Ice Age. When his vision came back, he was standing in a world of ice and snow, thousands of miles frozen, 10,000 miles of drifting white. The brutal cold cut through him immediately, and he tightened his cotton coat, telling himself it was a blessing his family kept so few clothes. He turned and found the source of life behind him, a crackling bonfire. The moment his eyes settled on it, a prompt appeared, burning bonfire level 1. It warmed everything within a 10-meter radius by 10 to 20 degrees, consumed 1 wood every 10 minutes, and needed 5 stone to upgrade. A beginner guide followed. Day and night existed in this world. Darkness meant death. The temperature plummeted. A 7-day protection period was active. No beasts could enter his bonfire area while protection lasted. Supplies waited in his territory storage box, and he had to repair the Lord cabin as soon as possible, because only then would the Lord panel unlock. Both the bonfire's behavior and the guide were exactly the same as the closed beta he had grinded for days. Ice Age had been a brutal game on screen, and now every single adult from Blue Star was dropped inside. Imagine the panic. He tugged at his coat, knowing he had a slight advantage from this cotton coat alone, and hoped a version update might have lowered the difficulty. Inside the wooden box, he found a stone axe, an iron pot, an iron pickaxe, and 3 units of food. The closed beta had handed out 10. He complained that the update only made things harder, then immediately started hauling scattered stones. Less than 6 hours of light remained. If the cabin was not repaired before nightfall, the freezing cold would completely destroy him. Even with the thick coat, these stones felt incredibly heavy. If transmigration had not quietly fixed his desk-worn back, it would have completely given out long before he finished. Half an hour later, he dragged 25 units inside. Cabin repairs required 15 stone and 20 wood, with the forest at 50 meters from the bonfire, meaning agonizing runs in minus 35 degrees. Most newbies would stockpile stone, rush for wood, and slap the cabin together, but he had played this game, so he instead Gang Yu dumps the collected stones right into the bonfire. A few minutes later, it hits level 2. The range doubles to 20 meters, warming things up to 15 to 25 degrees. With a steady temperature locked in, 15 minutes by this fire buys him 10 minutes of warmth after leaving its side. He waits by the embers until a glowing flame mark appears on the back of his hand, then trudges into the deep snow with his stone axe. The 50-meter trek takes him nearly 30 seconds. These trees are quite slender, and just 7 or 8 swings bring one down, converting it into wood. 10 minutes in, the flame mark fades, and the biting cold instantly slices through his coat into his organs. He hisses and stumbles back to refresh the warm buff. 3 grueling round trips later, he has everything he needs. On that final leg, he places 2 thick logs side by side, piles up loose stones, and pushes the makeshift sled all the way back to camp. He triggers the repair command on the ruined cabin. A tiny hammer icon flickers above it, and wood and stone float from his storage box to merge into the structure. 10 minutes to wait. The system does not need him right now, so he melts snow in his iron pot and drinks. Clean water is easy enough. Real food is the problem, since 3 units barely last half a day. Under this heavy workload, he rubs his stomach, deciding to deal with that problem When the time comes, maybe some wild rabbit will crash into a tree, shaking off the looming anxiety. He waits. Soon enough, a fully repaired wooden cabin stands proud in the cold snow. A special Lord panel unlocks for being the first survivor nearby to claim the title. He receives an exquisite hand crossbow of green, excellent quality. Attack power ranges from 15 to 27, with a 3-second firing interval and a sweet special effect that generates a bolt every 10 minutes, stacking up to 5. The system description notes that even a complete fool can use this. He aims at a distant tree and pulls the trigger. The wooden bolt buries itself deep inside the solid frozen trunk. Just like that, his dinner plans for tomorrow are secured. Next, his Lord panel shows territory stats, a chat channel, and personal information. His current status reads Gang Yu, Blue Star Human, Level 1 Lord, with Strength 3 and Agility 4. Spirit 5, Constitution 4, Health 120, Mana 100, Talent none. Current temperature -35.7. He pauses, staring right at that empty talent line. It was never there during the closed beta. He closes and reopens the screen, but still nothing. His vision begins to darken in despair. Then, a sharp chime rings directly in his ear. Modifying module tries to load. The loading fails. World parameters are synchronizing. The module reloads. Finally, it announces a successful installation. And his unique personal talent, Unstable Mutation, is active. The description reveals that his items will undergo chaotic mutations with completely random effects. Though always linked to their original state, the system voice keeps repeating that the data modification is failing and retrying. The only thing his brain processes is that his cheat has finally arrived. He was never some chosen golden child or a genius strategist, just a regular guy from Dragon Country, and even with his beta experience, he would not have bet on surviving this frozen hell. But now he silently tells his new talent to bring it on. He has a pot, an axe, and a strong crossbow. The stone axe is the obvious first choice. Gathering resources is his priority, but the moment he focuses on the tool, the voice in his ear shifts, whispering that the next mutation will no longer be restricted to simple items. A line of faint, glowing text can mutate anything in existence. The talent could trigger a positive mutation on any existing target. A basic axe and crossbow simply weren't worthy of that mutation. The only real choices were himself or the cabin, and he wasn't ready. As the holographic text faded, he pointed his talent at the cabin. His daily mutation count hit 0, and the system reported that his modest cabin had mutated into a legendary world tree sapling. His territory build list expanded, and his lord's power skill surged, raising all his attributes by 10%, leaving him absolutely thrilled. Myth called its leaves entire worlds, and its roots the universe end. This tiny 10-meter sapling with 2 suffixes didn't carry that weight. But even so, his lord's power bonus had already reached 10%. In the closed beta, a Tier 3 mansion with 100 residents only pushed that stat to 20%. This thing exceeded his expectations. The construction menu now showed a brand new layer below the human options. It had the basic hut, blacksmith shop, lumber mill, and mining plant. Right under those was an elven build tree from Tier 1 to 3. Everything was unlocked from the start, bypassing his current Tier 1 limits. This legendary sapling granted him a free pass through all construction limits. Honestly, skipping straight to Tier 3 structures felt like a total cheat. He clicked the Tier 3 Moonlight Forest, designed to recruit powerful heroes. It required 72 hours to build, 10,000 wood and 1,000 stone, 50 liters of moonspring water, 10,000 energy, and 10 crystals. Power crystals only dropped from strong transcendent creatures. Moonspring water came from moonwells, and natural energy knowledge filled his head. Moonwells and little plant fairies both produced the valuable resource. Next, his territory traits unlocked, allowing him to build natural-type structures. Everything up to Tier 3 would receive massive passive bonus effects. Resource output increased by 100%, and construction speed tripled. His maximum population doubled to 50, scaling up with the world tree. Additionally, a little fairy would periodically spawn within his territory over time. A green fruit was already growing overhead, destined to hatch an elf. By morning or faster with natural energy, 1 hour in, only 4 out of 10,000 local players had unlocked their Lord status. The World Channel reported over 1 million online, with 4 billion alive. Globally, everyone was capped at 1 message daily, making the chat fly. He could only read the highlighted lines, a perk of regional lords. A player named Andre joked that -30 degrees barely counted. Zhang Gang laughed about being cold and upgraded his bonfire first. Gang Yewa called everyone children of Blue Star and urged unity. Another player named Dillinkshan warned about this dangerous transcendent world. He shook his head, nobody was sharing useful info, and leaders stayed quiet. The global chat was useless for now, but he kept his leading position since the highlighted speech privilege would matter later on. Rapidly developing his territory was his only real option right now. Grabbing his axe, he stepped beyond the bonfire with his attribute boost. With his strength and frost resistance ticking up, within half an hour he gathered 30 wood and 10 more stone, enough for a Pullman hut or moon well. Pullman huts recruited polar citizens, the territory's default laborers for logging. In mining, moon wells gathered natural energy, allowing the world tree to spawn fairy farmers. He chose the moon well, placing it on the outskirts, figuring he could easily demolish it later. Suddenly, the plot glowed emerald and vines twisted. Up from the warming ground, 8 minutes later, a shimmering green moon well sat in the ice. The system announced his well received the moon's blessing from territory traits, under moonlight energy. And spring water doubled. Better yet, the water heals injuries and restores stamina. Nights are extremely long here. This makes the output explode completely. Normally, the base spring water does not even have a healing effect. This is basically a money tree, and yes, he hit the jackpot. If wells in the same area did not choke each other's output, he would have plastered the territory with them immediately. Since passive accumulation is slow, he refreshed his buffs and went mining. Fairies help too, but their mining speed is terrible, so he plays to their strengths instead. The 20-slot backpack from his panel makes hauling stone incredibly easy compared to logging, with under 3 hours until dark and 2 energy ready. And 42 stone in storage, he commands the world tree to create a little fairy. Leaf drifts down, transforming into a glowing green orb, a level 1 fairy elf. Appears, costing 1 population and bringing 2 skills. First is Nature Entangle, weaving with plants safely, and the second is a shocking self-destruct, which deals pure damage while draining mana. He sends it to entangle with the world tree, keeping it safe and letting it produce 2 natural energy and 50 wood daily, which is double the ordinary rate. Even with 99% of the legendary tree's energy currently fueling the territory traits. Fairies require no rest or food, and their generated energy is pure profit. Suddenly, a bitter wind strikes, dropping the temperature to -38. Where is he supposed to sleep? Now that his cozy lord's cabin has been transformed into a massive tree, he then remembers the tree hole option on his elf list. It carves out a cozy shelter, since the world tree is technically a tree, so he opens a branch hole and steps inside. Instantly, the howling wind vanishes. A normal cabin would waste tons of resources to stay this warm. But he cannot idle. Stones need gathering. A white shadow darts past as he exits. He jokes that a wild rabbit made a mistake, but his sharp gaze instantly locks onto the movement, forcing the system to display its stats. It is a level 3 snowfield wolf, strength 6, agility 8, constitution 5, health 150, mana 80. The beast spots him, eyes glowing with hunger, but it can only pace the border. It already tried crossing once, earning a bruised skull from the beginner protection. He has 0 worries. His active lord traits boost his attributes. He was not far from the wolf, hand crossbow ready. Meat was on the menu for dinner. He tucked the crossbow behind his back and walked toward it slowly. The first shot had to land, 10 meters 8-7. He aimed and fired in one motion. The wolf sensed danger and dodged, but it was not fast enough. The bolt struck its collarbone instead of the eye. Talk about tense. Turned and tried to flee, but he was not about to let his prey escape. He drives a second bolt straight into its lower back, piercing the soft spine of this transcendent wolf, and it crashed into the snow. Still, no kill notification yet, so he sends a third bolt through its eye socket. Quiet, system prompts arrive in it. Series killed level 3 snowfield wolf, gained 30 experience points and obtained a market blueprint as his guaranteed first kill drop, since he was the first survivor in this entire region to slay a wild beast. He received a frostwolf cavalry recruitment scroll. The carcass flashed white, marked as ready for harvesting. He gathered a perfect white common quality pelt and 18 kilograms of Fresh wolf meat plus a sharp wolf fang for crafting arrows. He grumbled at the steep harvesting fee, but skinning the beast himself would have taken hours and ruined the pelt. The market blueprint lets him build. Market for cross area, trading inside his own territory at Tier 1 with a fee. On every transaction, he shelved the build since no nearby players could kill wild beasts yet or had resources to trade. The Frostwolf Cavalry recruitment scroll was the real highlight. Green, excellent quality. Level 3 common template, with great aptitude and 60 loyalty. 2 population and 5 food daily. Recruitment scrolls are one of 3. Combat unit sources alongside training buildings and subdued natives, rare. Outside the novice period, this Frostwolf cavalry is relatively powerful. Combat strength is decided by level template and race, templates. Rise from common to elite to hero, with matching aptitudes. Scaling up to mythical levels. Fortunately, survivors like him face no limits. Here only tier limits. Tier 1 lets residents reach level 10 maximum. He decided to save the scroll, with barely 2 hours of daylight remaining. He was not planning to travel far, and soldiers would eat up food overnight. There was also his secret talent. He had not decided yet if tomorrow's mutation should target this scroll. Back at camp, he stored his spoils in the box and sat by the fire, the adrenaline of the kill finally catching up with him. 3 quick shots, a dead beast, and his heart pounded. The gushing blood, the wails of a dying animal. None of this was on a screen this time. He reminded himself out loud that a lord cannot afford to be the weak kind who avoids a fight. This is reality, guys, and anything threatening his territory will come straight for him. Night fell and the world went dead silent, save for the crackling bonfire. He sat close, roasting wolf meat in his iron pot. 6 in the evening and already pitch black. And he was starving. The construction list had kitchens and stoves, but he skipped them to save wood. Just 1 pot, some snow, a piece of meat were enough. The aroma rose, fat sizzled, and his mouth watered before his first bite. Unseasoned wolf meat was not exactly delicious, but as he thought of the hearing the chat channel whine for food made every bite taste better. He scrolled the screen while eating. Everyone was begging for food and water, debating back and forth about whether melted snow was safe to drink with all the bacteria. 1 player was trapped. Tiger blocking their door. Another guy actually suggested a slide tackle as the ultimate solution. Meanwhile, some poor player was freezing to death and desperately shouting for a doctor. Way down in the chat, a quiet voice shared a neat little exploit. Standing by an upgraded bonfire for 15 minutes granted a 10-minute warmth buff. The freezing cold night had pinned everyone down. Nearly 9,000 survivors in this zone were desperately leaning on each other for comfort. Over 1,000 had not even unlocked their lord panel yet. He could only wish them luck. The freezing temperature outside crept toward -50 degrees. Even wrapped in a thick wolf hide by his shoulders, he still felt that brutal bite. Anyone stuck outside without a cabin or upgraded fire was completely finished. Night 1, the death toll hit 10%, erasing a 1,000 sounded small until you scaled it to 4 billion humans. That meant 400 million lives snuffed out in a single night. Talk about a brutal wake-up call. He had no time to mourn. An ant completely powerless over his own fate. Meanwhile, some elite players in the world chat were already making moves, building markets and closing trades. Helpful advice floated around. Kill any level 1 beast to grab a market blueprint. Trading materials instantly with just a 5% fee, but angry comments fired right back, pointing out that killing was easier said than done. Even with the blueprint would remain the ultimate bottleneck. Others guessed some lucky players had stumbled upon rare treasure chests or abandoned resource camps, and with 4 billion competitors, even crazy odds would favor a few. But he knew there was no need to rush. With his unique world tree sapling, his strength would steadily expand day by day. After enjoying 2 pieces of meat and hot soup, he leaned back, completely satisfied, sitting inside his treehole cabin. The once empty space now featured a solid wooden bed, table, and chairs, all easily crafted out of just 2 leftover timber units, while other survivors huddled in freezing boredom. He wrapped himself tight under the cozy wolf pelt, closed his eyes, and drifted into the deepest sleep he had experienced in years. By morning, a system alert congratulated all survivors on making it through, reminding him that the shield had exactly 6 days and 8 hours left. It would expire right in the middle of their worst night. The regional count now stood at 8,872. nearly 200 fewer than yesterday, even inside wooden cabins the unprepared had. Still frozen, fresh cries for help flooded the chat, but everyone was struggling just to survive on their own. Plus, trading required a market, and if you had that, you probably did not need any emergency help anyway. The Catch-22 reminded him of an old boss guide joke: cannot beat the dragon, then just use the dragon armor to win. He stretched, stepping out of his cozy treehole cabin. Overnight, the glowing world tree had visibly grown larger, sparkling with soft green light. Before bed, he had left it with a simple, direct command: channel all natural energy into breeding little woodland fairies. His moon well had reliably produced 4 energy points every single hour. Night, his little fairies gathered even more, pushing the total population up to 37 out of 100. Back in beta, a great start only gave him 6 followers by day 2. Honestly, comparing them was not even fair because those polar people. 8 hours of work, easy. The fairies pulled 24 straight without complaining. He could feel a faint, warm vibe drifting from their swarm. A simple, bright thought. They felt so lucky to stay near the great tree. The storage held 628 wood, so he ordered the world tree to stop. The fairy production push. Population needed careful planning. Resource speed mattered, but combat power was crucial too. Pure farming simply wouldn't survive this harsh environment. If a neighbor hoards food, he hoards weapons. That neighbor becomes his granary. Farming would continue, but weapons were a priority. Right on cue, his weapon arrived, the elf. Fruit on the world tree branch ripened and dropped to the ground. A crack opened in the fruit and a figure emerged. The system notified him his territory had naturally produced a resident. Current population was 42 out of 105. Population slots. He was thrilled. Little fairies and polar people as farmer units took 1 slot each, while normal combat units took 2. Elite grade, now. And let me tell you, she was a total powerhouse. A clear, cold voice rang out from the woman kneeling in front of him, announcing herself as Aisha Silverwing, reporting for duty. His will was now the direction her sword pointed. She wore light armor with a short sword at her waist and a bow and arrow slung. She knelt on the icy ground. In front of him, he welcomed her to his territory and gently raised both hands to signal her to stand. What a stunning ice queen, with silver hair cascading over her shoulders. Her signature pointed ears were tucked neatly into the fall of her hair. Beautiful as she was still a combat unit, so he checked her panel. Elf Ranger. Aisha Silverwing, Silver Moon Elf, Elite Template, Excellent Aptitude Level 5. Loyalty 100, Strength 15, Agility 22, Constitution 12, Spirit 14, Health 360. Mana 280, her talent was Moon's Blessing. All attributes increased by 20% under moonlight. Her skills were Wind Step, costing 20 mana to summon a wind that wrapped her body and pushed her speed to its absolute limit with immunity to most physical damage. There was also Charge Shot, spending mana to empower her next attack at 20% per second of charge up to 5 seconds, costing 10 mana per second. So incredibly strong. As an elite, she had high attributes and 2 skills, 1 offensive and 1 defensive. No joke, he had zero doubt she could easily wipe the floor with him. It was lucky then that she was his subordinate, willing to walk through fire for him. 100 loyalty. In the closed beta, he'd never seen anyone over 90. He figured it was because elves were directly created by the world tree, and the world tree's status among them ranked even higher than the gods they worshipped, making him, as the world tree's master, an easy figure to follow. He told Aisha he would assign her to reconnaissance work around the territory. She accepted with honor and turned to set off, but he called her back, taking out the Frostwolf cavalry recruitment scroll from yesterday and admitting to himself that with Aisha as a safeguard, he no longer had qualms about what was about to happen. He had decided earlier that if today's elf was powerful enough, he would risk the recruitment scroll on a mutation. Before her arrival, he had been conflicted, since the talent's modified positive mutation still had an unknown direction and effect. The scroll might not even remain a scroll. Even if it did, he might not get to use it today. A mutation into something too strong meant he couldn't control it, but with Aisha here, he could take the He took a gamble. The system announced an unstable mutation. His Frostwolf recruitment scroll mutated, morphing into a completely new beast. A werewolf scroll. Instantly, his positive mutation count hit 0. But 2 unstable mutations remained. It nearly took his breath away. 3 daily attempts, absolutely insane. This changed the game completely. Even with random extra rolls, his mind instantly began plotting. He could dump them into useless trash and let quantity work miracles. Calming down, he carefully inspected the newly mutated werewolf scroll. Blue tier, excellent. It summons a level 3 elite warrior. A werewolf, base loyalty started at 45, based on strength. But there was a warning: anyone under 60 loyalty might disobey. They were hard to control, costing 5 population and 10 daily food. He stroked his chin. Honestly, his luck was pretty solid here. High-tier scrolls were fine, but practical suitability mattered so much more. Besides, Aisha could easily suppress a level 3 elite, he confirmed. Without hesitation, he summoned the beast. The scroll floated upward. It hung in midair, then dissolved into brilliant blue light. Out of the glow, a brutal figure over 2 meters tall emerged. A massive wolfman stood in the snow, wearing only rough hide. Green eyes locked onto him as sharp claws scraped together menacingly. The beast growled, demanding the Lord prove his courage in battle. He called the master a weak human, questioning his right to rule. Before the Lord could even gesture, Aisha was already moving. Whipping winds swirled around her as she blurred forward like lightning. Her unsheathed blade flashed in silver, piercing his chest in one strike. Another gust of wind hit, a sweep of her leg shattering his balance. He crashed down. Instantly, she pinned him with her boot. Leaning over the giant beast, she spoke in a cold, calm voice. "Disrespecting the master only gets you a light beating," she explained. But cross the line again, and she would end his life. She stepped back, bowing in silence. The Lord was absolutely thrilled. She was deadly, efficient, and fiercely loyal, the perfect guardian. As for the werewolf, his wild behavior was just beastman nature. They respected raw power above all else, keeping things very straightforward. Talk about a simple hierarchy: just beat them until they behave. The wolfman hauled himself up and pulled the blade from his chest. He tossed it aside, bowing deeply as Fenrir's claw, ready to serve. The Lord calmly ordered him to pick the weapon up and clean it. He actually thought about making him lick the blood off, but desisted. Best to keep things professional, Fenrir knelt down in the snow. He cleaned the blade, presenting it back to his master on one knee. Before the Lord could take it, the system suddenly chimed. The werewolf Fenrir was thoroughly intimidated by a powerful ally. His loyalty rose by 10 points to 55, followed by another alert. Thanks to the Lord's firm response, loyalty jumped another 15 points to 70. With the right method, the unruly werewolf had finally submitted. It turned out loyalty was easy to cultivate. He picked up the short sword and handed it to Aisha. He praised her swift movements, and Aisha thanked him warmly for the compliment. She sheathed her weapon, while he looked back at Fenrir, noting the wound on the beast's chest. The chest wound was already healing, showing the werewolf's passive talent at work. Fenrir Broken Claw, an elite beastman with an excellent level 3 aptitude. With 70 loyalty, 12 strength, 15 agility, 17 constitution, and 8 spirit. 510 health, 160 mana, and a self-healing talent. His summon skill allowed 2 equal-level snowfield wolves to fight for him daily. They remained permanently up to a cap of 2, without draining territory population. His wolf transformation activated his wild beast bloodline, boosting all attributes by 50% and unlocking a critical strike ability. This transformation could be used once daily, lasting for 30 minutes. The critical strike offered a chance to unleash a powerful attack buff. It dealt 180% damage, making the wild werewolf incredibly strong. He was a beast with real power, proving elite units always have great tricks. Seeing these skills, the Lord changed his plans, realizing Fenrir made a perfect scout. Even better than Aisha, he ordered the werewolf to summon his companions for patrol. Aisha, meanwhile, was tasked with staying close and keeping him safe. Both accepted the orders in unison, and Fenrir threw back his head. He howled loudly, and 2 snowfield wolves materialized right out of thin air. Their stats were quite similar to the wild wolf he had slain yesterday. He stepped forward and gently stroked the wolf's silky fur, smiling warmly. He secretly wondered if slaying these summons would still yield experience. It was a dark thought, but one he had no intention of acting on. Fenrir calmed the startled beasts down, then asked permission to head out. The Lord told him to wait, asking Aisha to prepare breakfast first. He insisted Fenrir eat first, then asked if they liked snowfield wolf meat. Both companions looked confused, though Aisha noted it was perfectly fine with her. and Fenrir made it clear he could never live without meat. The Lord realized that different worlds and races had very different habits. Elves did not just eat fruit, and feeding Fenrir was a strategic move. He knew the classic rule of offering a sweet treat right after a harsh blow. But the real treat was not just a warm meal, he had other plans. With 2 daily talent charges remaining, watch how he completely blows the werewolf's mind. He activated his unstable mutation, targeting a simple stone axe. The system immediately announced a mutation into a goblin wood chipper. Today's positive mutation count hit 0, with 1 unstable mutation used. He watched the simple axe vanish, replaced by a massive 3-meter-tall machine. It boasted a heavy cyberpunk style, equipped with a giant buzzing saw blade. The other arm was a clawed grabber, sitting on heavy tank tracks for the snow. This beastly contraption was built for a single, heavy-duty purpose, logging. A green-grade goblin wood chipper, model T130, of excellent quality. A skilled operator could easily clear 100 wood units per hour. With 1,000 durability out of 10,000, powered by unknown renewable energy. Units per hour, having 50 little fairies a day left him pretty speechless. He chose to mutate the stone axe, knowing his hardworking fairies would keep the wood coming. The camp would never run out, and now the storage box was practically bursting. Standing nearby, Fenrir stared in absolute shock, his eyes almost bulging right out of his head. The system chimed in to confirm the display had completely stunned him, sending his loyalty. Up by 10 points to 80, he dropped into the snow begging forgiveness for his past arrogance and calling the young man's power as deep as the sea. Now he finally understood why a mighty female elf would willingly obey a seemingly fragile human. Turning his entire worldview completely upside down, nearby, Aisha boiled some wolf meat over the crackling fire, looking far calmer than Fenrir but still deeply shaken. The world tree never created mindless blank slates when summoning its people. It pulled lost soul fragments into physical bodies, raising them with complete memories. But what she had just witnessed went way beyond anything she understood. Ignoring his 2 companions, he decided to press on while his luck held. Activating unstable mutation, he targeted his exquisite hand crossbow next. With Aesir and Fenrir around, that crossbow was useless, so it had to go. Suddenly, the system announced a random mutation into a Barrett sniper rifle. Today's mutation counts were officially wiped clean to 0, as the bright light faded, a 1.5-meter-long, completely black weapon appeared. He held it close, knowing exactly what kind of monster he was looking at. The logging machine was surprising, but at least fantasy goblins made some sense. Talk about a total clash of genres, this style was completely off. He couldn't help but wonder if he had actually transmigrated, or if his unique talent was somehow pulling modern weapons directly from his home planet, Blue Star. Did sniper rifles already exist here? If so, who on earth made them? A strange world merging magic and technology, too many questions and 0 answers. Seeking answers, he opened the item details for the Barrett sniper rifle. Grade Purple Transcendent, attack power 333 to 444. With a 2-second firing rate, a masterpiece of alchemical tech. Gaining extra perks from modifications, currently 1 accessory was attached. That modification was an enchanted 6-round magazine, self-generating one. Special bullet every 4 hours, at full charge the ammunition received. Deadly enhancements, starting with 50% frost, 30 armor penetration and magic. Break 10, 6 holy light, 3 blessing, and 1% instant death. It was called a relic of some forgotten shattered era, his heart. Skipped a beat, this world was far deeper than he had ever imagined. Pulling himself out of his thoughts, he shrugged off these massive mysteries. Survival was his immediate priority, alongside building his strength to explore later. Just then, Aisha walked over gracefully, carrying a stone cooking pot. She quietly announced dinner was ready, though the small pot limited their portions. He ordered Fenrir to eat up quickly, then immediately scout the surroundings. Within a 3-kilometer radius to draw a map, the loyal subordinate eagerly agreed. Setting off with his 2 snowfield wolves, turning back to the fire. He focused his mind on the next phase of expansion. Resources were totally unbalanced. Wood was overflowing, but they desperately needed stone. To mine stone properly, even then their efficiency on rock was pretty poor. He decided to build a Pullman hut and recruit some polar people. With 2 big eaters already, a few more mouths would not hurt. The reserve held exactly 12 stone, just enough to place the hut on the outskirts. Building it would take 8 minutes, and breakfast wasn't ready. So he climbed into the cockpit of his new giant toy to test it. The goblin tech was simple, and after a few tries, he mastered it. He felt relieved, since he'd worried they wouldn't know how to run it. Just then, Aisha called out that the food was ready, and they quickly ate. Both of them ate their fill just as the Pullman hut finished construction. Recruiting them cost food instead of energy, costing 2 units of wolf meat. The meat vanished from his inventory, and 4 polar people stepped outside. They were short, stout, and wrapped in thick coats perfectly made for the cold. To his delight, they brought their own gear, stone axes and iron pickaxes. The group was rowdy right away, sniffing around and complaining about their hunger. They whispered to keep quiet so their new master wouldn't kick them out. They feared being mistaken for hungry ghosts and expelled instantly. Then they gaped at the giant tree, wondering if the elf nearby was real. His head was already aching from the noise. He snapped at them to shut up. He scanned the 4, promising them plenty of meat if they worked hard for him. They cheered instantly, swearing to serve him. He pointed to the strongest one. He appointed this boss as the captain of the polar squad. He named the leader Gil, while the rest were simply dubbed G, Sam, and Gaw. Their panels showed they were all level 1 with stats around 5. Their original names had a Western style he couldn't be bothered to memorize. The management panel already showed his new captain with a special badge. As the territory expanded, managing every single basic resident would become impossible. Managing every detail himself, it would absolutely drain him. But with solid loyalty anchoring them, he could delegate boldly. Today he had one task, ordering Gil to move stones into the storage. The other 3 kept whining about when they could finally eat some meat. They complained they were hungry, smelling the roasted wolf meat in the air. He rubbed his forehead. These polar people were not simple. Their efficiency was not even close to that of the little fairies. He ordered them to work, promising a feast by the fire at nightfall. But here's the thing, don't let their basic panel stats fool you. They did not need to huddle by the fire for 10 minutes to get a buff. They were born for the frozen wastes, possessing incredible natural cold resistance. In 1 hour of non-stop work, their storage box was already filling up. It held 42 stones, 10 of which immediately went into starting a quarry. Once the quarry was built, they wouldn't need to haul stones back and forth. Efficiency would skyrocket. After an hour, they rested. While he sat wondering how to spend the remaining 42 stones, something changed. Fenrir returned, having fully transformed into a massive white wolf. Just moments ago, a system notification warned him that his companion was under attack. He ignored the threat. Outside danger was the point of the protection period. Yet within 3 kilometers, a deadly enemy had already made its move. An opponent so brutal, it forced his beast companion to flee. The wolf bolted back to camp, quickly reverting to his hybrid shape. Bleeding heavily, he collapsed directly onto one knee before his master. His right arm was bent at a sickening angle, completely broken. The ambush happened half an hour ago. He felt he failed his lord. Even though his minor chest wounds had already closed, these injuries remained severe. The lord asked grimly what happened, and the werewolf began his report. Just 2 kilometers northwest of their territory, he had discovered a mine. He pulled a plain black ore from his pack, offering it to him. As for his wounds, he had been ambushed by an invisible giant cat. Had he not been caught off guard, he never would have lost. His voice cracked with frustration, repeating how the invisible beast ambushed him. The young lord asked if he was sure the cave was not just dark. But the wolf respectfully insisted that his vision was perfectly fine. His clan possessed perfect night vision, so he had entered without any worry. The lord nodded. He believed him, but this world was proving highly dangerous. An invisible monster already. It was lucky his loyal beast took the hit. He asked if the wolf had managed to launch any counterattacks. The werewolf admitted his injuries were too severe, and without his high regeneration. And the giant predator choosing not to chase him down as he fled. He would never have survived. The lord asked how long recovery would take. Without any healing help, he would need at least half a day. The lord instructed the elf, Aisha, to quickly fetch some moonspring water. Fenrir was utterly confused. He knew the moon well was in their base, but could not fathom why his master wanted it, wondering if he was thirsty. Aisha soon returned with a wooden bowl of the glowing fluid. The lord offered it, telling him to drink. His loyalty of 80 drove him to obey. He tipped the bowl back, draining the water in a single gulp. Immediately his eyes went wide as he felt his broken bones knit back together. The master ordered him to lead the way, bringing Aisha along. But the wolf hesitated, warning that hunting an invisible beast was too dangerous. He offered to handle it with the elf, but the lord waved him off. Thanks to Barrett's mutation, his own strength was no longer behind theirs. From his description, the tiger was clearly guarding a valuable resource point. The piece he handed over was iron ore, confirming an underground mine. He was determined to conquer it. Soon, the wolf whispered they had arrived. The beast was still terrified, especially with his wolf transformation exhausted. But backed by a powerful elf ranger, nothing could possibly go wrong. The lord ordered Fenrir to enter first, and the wolf leaped inside. He vanished straight into the pitch-black opening without a moment of hesitation. Suddenly, a terrifying roar echoed from below. The battle had officially begun. With no risk of a surprise attack, the master descended with Aisha. After going down just 100 meters, they spotted the glowing, white beast. Black stripes rippled on its skin, and ice-blue eyes flashed with killing intent. Stats are insane: Strength 29, Agility 25, Constitution 21. Its shadow talent keeps it completely invisible until it decides to attack. It possesses deadly skills like Tiger Pounce and a heavy Intimidate roar. The roar spiritually suppresses all enemies, a truly dangerous level 8 elite beast. He was so glad he brought everyone along. Without the wolf form and Aisha, they could never take this beast down. Within just 12 seconds, Fenrir is already completely overwhelmed and struggling. No more waiting, he pulls out his Barrett rifle. He sets it down, aims, and fires. A deafening blast echoes as blood bursts forth. The bullet tears through the shadow tiger's front paw, throwing the beast completely off balance. Fenrir seizes the moment, clawing deep, bloody marks across its body. The tiger recovers quickly, whips Fenrir away with its tail, and charges straight forward. It targets him next. 100 meters vanishes instantly as a foul wind rushes ahead. Suddenly, a fully charged arrow from Aisha flies in and embeds itself deep. The heavy arrow pierces its chest, halting the deadly charge cold. Blood starts pouring. It had ignored Fenrir to charge him because it sensed a truly fatal threat. That danger was not just his powerful rifle, but Aisha's devastating full-power strike. After 4 seconds of charging, another deafening sniper shot cracks through the air. Headshot, a massive bullet hole rips straight through the tiger's skull. It collapses. The struggling beast loses its life in an instant. The system notification pops up. Shadow Tiger defeated, earning 240 experience. He levels up to 2, as the first regional survivor to slay an elite creature. He receives a random blueprint of outstanding quality and 1 Undying Tinder. Undying Tinder is completely new to him, but it sounds incredibly high class. He checks his status panel. The item is officially listed as Immortal Tinder. It is a special, gradeless item capable of maintaining an eternal bonfire. This allows him to establish a second territory, burning forever even in harsh winters. Only a bonfire made with this special tinder can survive the deadly cold season. He puts it away. Sub-territories are a late-game concern. It is a future step. Next, he inspects the random building blueprint. Though labeled random, the item is already set by the time it hits his inventory. The blueprint is a green nursery building. Excellent. Using it unlocks a nursery for planting crops with an 18 square meter footprint. Construction requires 100 wood, 80 stone, 5 iron, and 2 primary fire crystals. Plus 1 primary wood crystal. His eyes light up at the massive potential here. With this, his territory finally has the foundation to transition to actual agriculture. Hunting is simply too unstable, leaving people to feast one day and starve the next. Once the population grows to hundreds or thousands of people, hunting won't keep up. He has plenty of wood, stone, and iron. Only those elemental crystals require effort. There is no rush anyway, since he doesn't have any seeds to plant yet. But as the thought forms, a pretty wicked idea pops into his head. Should he mutate the tinder or upgrade the nursery blueprint? What would you do? Fenrir, looking slightly dazed from the tiger's brutal beating, slowly walks over to his side. The giant wolf stares at the once invincible tiger, now a completely cold corpse. The werewolf's understanding of the young lord's true strength was being completely rewritten in real time. He realized Aisha, the elf, was also far better with a bow. With wide, glowing eyes, she eagerly asked if she could get a close look at his strange weapon. She wanted to see that weapon which fired as fast as lightning and hit in an instant. He suddenly remembered her special passive bow ability, the devastating charged shot. His eyes lit up, wondering if her charged shot skill could apply to a gun. He handed the rifle over and personally guided her through how to use it. She eagerly asked to try, prompting him to stroke his chin while calculating his bullet supply. 4 bullets left, a 4-hour refill cooldown, and only 6 hours of daylight. He told her to go ahead, but made sure she never pointed the barrel toward him. Seeing if archery skills worked on firearms was something he highly anticipated. If it worked, her overall combat power would instantly jump tiers. Crouching down, he quickly began harvesting the Shadow Tiger's fresh carcass. This blue-tier specimen was a massive step up from yesterday's white-quality wolf corpse. He eagerly waited, watching the body get enveloped in bright white light. As the glow faded, several rare blue items appeared on the ground. The system took its usual cut, but there were still some great surprises. First, he found 3 excellent blue-tier eggs from the elite Shadow Tiger. He could try hatching them, but the description noted they tasted great boiled if that failed. He stared at the giant, basketball-sized eggs in sheer disbelief and confusion. Seriously, what kind of tiger lays eggs? He shrugged and stored them. Since he could not hatch them, eating them seemed way simpler. With elves and werewolves around, he did not need any more pets. The remaining drops were the classic trio of tiger meat, hide, and teeth. He gained 128 portions of raw, green-tier Shadow Tiger meat. This meat contained shadow energy that a chef could turn into magical dishes. Eating the tiger meat raw also worked quite well. It permanently boosted cold resistance with no stacking. Having 128 portions was a massive goldmine. This cold resistance was a lifesaver. In this brutal winter, everyone was struggling to survive by their fires. He had only been outside for 30 minutes and already felt himself freezing stiff. Losing his warm status buff proved how lethal this frost was. Out here, cold resistance meant getting more precious exploration time. More exploration time meant staying miles ahead of other lords struggling to survive. This was a total lifesaver for other struggling lords currently freezing to death. He possessed both healing moonring water and cold-resisting tiger meat. The other struggling lords in his immediate zone were about to get incredibly lucky. He decided to hold back on listing these items just yet. He wanted to help his compatriots, but running a charity was out of the question. Next, he checked 2 pieces of blue-tier Shadow Tiger skin. Though the pelts had several obvious puncture holes, a skilled tailor could easily fix them. A skilled craftsman could easily use them to make some incredible clothing. Alternatively, wealthy city lords in far-off lands loved treading on such rare, valuable furs. This confirmed a massive detail: other civilized cities actually existed here. He stared at the description for a brief moment before shaking his head. There was no way he would risk contacting advanced local forces. Massive rewards always meant massive danger, so he grabbed the final item. It was a glowing vial of transcendent Shadow Tiger essence blood. Consuming it offered a rare chance to inherit the beast's power. But a warning note advised checking one's physical strength first. He also had to consider the beast's race. It was a legendary find. However, the moment he read the warning, he knew it was not for him. Even with his recent level 2 upgrade, his body was still too weak. His stats had barely reached 5. Still, he had no plans to hoard this treasure. Sitting on rare items was never his style. Hoarding would not help him grow. Better loot would come eventually, and equipping his troops made more sense anyway. He needed immediate combat power, not a trophy in a chest. Calling Fenrir over, he praised the loyal warrior for his outstanding service. The beastman had cleared the surrounding threats and secured the area. He tossed the bottle over, and Fenrir scrambled to catch the precious vial. Flustered, the warrior stammered that it was far too valuable for him to accept. He had only joined yesterday, yet the system showed his loyalty immediately spiking. It jumped by another 10, reaching 90. The young lord shrugged off his protests. He told him that getting stronger was all the repayment he ever wanted. Fenrir clutched the vial with fanatical devotion, swearing to master its power. The master advised him to consume it back at camp, where it was safe. The assimilation process would take time. Then he glanced over at Aisha. She was still admiring the sniper rifle, completely obsessed with the weapon. Her devotion already felt beyond maximum loyalty. Suddenly, a loud gunshot rang out. Aisha looked up, whispering that her abilities matched this gun. He smiled and declared it was hers, then explained how the weapon worked. He detailed everything, from the rapid bullet creation to its magic traits. Since she was a native, she could not read the system information herself. She softly questioned him about the endless ammo and future upgrades. Her stoic expression cracked into a rare, bright smile as she asked a question. She wanted to name the sniper rifle. He told her she was free to do so. She whispered that the endless ammunition felt like divine favor. So she named it Heaven's Grace. He nodded, calling it a beautiful name. But in her mind, she knew he was her real heaven, and this was his gift. After 30 minutes of searching the dark caverns, a system notification flashed before him. The abandoned iron mine was officially claimed as the region's very first conqueror. He was awarded a rare, high-tier chest as a special reward. Securing first place brought massive benefits, but the freezing air was turning brutal. Deciding to save the chest for later, he focused on finishing his work. This small iron mine held a maximum reserve of 20,000 units. It regenerated 100 units daily and could support an automated factory. He studied the data with a slight frown. It did not make sense. His workers were hardy, but they could not survive mining here forever. Sitting 2 kilometers away, he wondered how many bonfire upgrades this would take. How could they cover it? Then he remembered how closed beta nodes worked. It automatically spawned a campfire. Ordering his group to spread out, they searched. Minutes later, Fenrir spotted an extinguished campfire right at the mine. Center, it only needed wood to burn, with fixed coverage matching the node. Point, he tossed in some wood, lighting the flames, then peeled off his soaking. Boots to let the warmth bring his frozen feet back to life, he told. Fenrir to head back and bring 2 polar people to start mining, many structures. Urgently needed iron. Warming up by the fire, he opened the reward. Just as the system listed his loot, 1 ice crystal fruit tree, 1 miniature temperature box, and 1 medical kit. That green glow was the sapling, an excellent grade ice crystal fruit tree, easily transplantable into his territory. It had low requirements, grew incredibly fast, and promised a high yield. He needed to build that nursery soon. This food source could easily solve his food crisis. Next up, a common white temperature box. Measuring 0.3 meters wide, it was capable of keeping things at 0 to 5 degrees Celsius, perfect for seeds or hatching monster eggs. A system note hinted that combined with a shrinking lamp, miracles could happen. The moment he saw that note, he pulled out a shadow tiger egg, measured it, and successfully slipped it inside. A green light flared up. Once the lid shut, making him rethink his plans, raising basic tigers in a fantasy world sounded boring, but an invisible shadow tiger. Seriously, who could resist an invisible tiger? He had to raise it. The medical kit glowed blue and white, looking like the real treasure despite its boring name. It was an excellent grade kit, containing basic tools like bandages, 3 injectors, 1 first aid potion, and a note stating he could generate 3 free bandage rolls daily. The style felt oddly familiar, like the Barrett sniper rifle, likely a relic from some ancient era. The common white bandages only stopped bleeding and slightly boosted recovery, offering 5 uses each, but with diminishing returns on physical wounds. For average lords, this meant a reliable supply of healing items, turning fatal injuries minor and saving lives. This could literally save 15 people each day, but for him, his Moonspring water completely outclassed these basic bandages. The adrenaline injector, however, was an excellent grade item. Using it boosted a player's attack and movement speed by 20% for 30 seconds, along with a note telling him to just go wild and leave the rest to pure adrenaline. But the real prize, however, was the blue-grade first aid potion. It cleansed negative effects. While healing 50% of maximum health, he carefully slipped it into his backpack, praying he would never have to use it. But if he ever did, he silently prayed it would not be on himself, with nothing left. He took Aisha to search the dark corners for any missed loot. The bright violet area made searching easy, revealing some scattered iron ore in the shadows totaling 18 units. The mine was already his, but every free piece collected now saved hours of manual labor later. Once he finished clearing the area, Fenrir returned with 2 polar people. He orders them to establish a mining camp on the spot and dig with everything they have. Fenrir is told to stay behind, guard the workers, and guide them back before nightfall. Bringing Aisha home, he finds the camp has quietly gathered piles of wood and stone. It is finally time for a massive construction spree. He checks his ledger. He has 728 wood, 58 stone, and plenty of meat stockpiled. This surplus food means he can recruit more residents and finally build a market. Upgrading the bonfire, adding a blacksmith, tailor, and an ore plant. Standing before the Pullman hut, he trades 2 wolf meat to summon 4 more workers. He sends 2 to gather stone, while the other 2 handle basic building projects. He puts Aisha on Fenrir's scouting team after his wolves died in battle. Suddenly, he realizes he is actually the only idle person left in camp. He reassures himself that managing a whole base is hard work too, letting it go. Opening the chat, he notes a day and a half has passed since transmigration. Most survivors have accepted this reality, and the chat is finally quiet enough to read. A lord named Wix is bragging about finding a gullible native village. Showing off his inventory trick apparently scored him free food and cheap labor. Wang Gui happily posts about finding a treasure chest just 100 meters away. Sadek Shio complains his own treasure chest was guarded by a vicious monster. Meanwhile, the regional channel is flooded with self-promoters and constant showing off. One group called Blue Star Unity is loudly advertising premium rabbit meat. Some former executive is even trying to sell basic management advice. He wants 3 wood or stone for his guide, causing endless arguments online. People are begging for warm clothes as the freezing cold closes in. A badly injured lord begs for medicine, only to be harshly shut down. No one wants to give up recovery items when they might get hurt tomorrow. The injured player desperately pleads, but it highlights a massive, growing problem. He realizes he completely underestimated how valuable medical supplies really are here. This world is digital, but the people in it still bleed and break. So he changes his plans and redirects his workers to prioritize the market. He tells himself he is just being kind, hating to see others suffer. Let's be real, those brave players are the exact allies he wants to recruit. They are the true pioneers, taking the biggest risks to survive. They are exactly who he will need later, so providing logistics makes perfect sense. With 3 workers on the job, the market and bonfire upgrade simultaneously. The upgraded bonfire now pumps out a massive wave of intense heat. The temperature buff lasts much longer, but the real prize is the range. The level 3 bonfire is the absolute limit for his tier 1 base. Its heat now covers a radius of 40 meters, which sounds small. But that actually covers 5,000 square meters, like a giant sports field. With a population cap of 50, every resident gets plenty of space. He wonders if this massive expansion will let him construct more moon wells. After all, those wells provide amazing bonuses, so the more the better. It is -10 near the fire, but -40 in the wild. Feeling a sense of cozy relief, he sends his workers back to gather stone. With everyone busy, he finally logs in to open the newly built market. Currently, the active market listings are just basic resources like trading wood for stone. No blueprints, transactions show another story. Blueprints are moving fast, with listings closing within seconds. Perfect, he mutters. Anyone holding blueprints should hide them and wait for his move. Right at that moment, a rare blueprint appears right at the top of the market list. It is a green blueprint for a healing potion. This recipe requires 1 moonlight grass to brew the potion. It requires 100 milliliters of purified water and 2 wood to heal. The seller wants 2,000 wood or stone, welcoming private messages for other rare blueprints. Gang scoffs at the insane price tag for a simple recipe. Besides, he has never even heard of this moonlight grass and has no use for it. He thinks it will just sit uselessly in a chest, but it instantly sells. A lord named Han Zhong buys it, and Gang feels a bit sorry for him. He wasted his resources. Still, Gang scans the market. He is fully confident his moonspring water will dominate. Even after feeding Fenrir overnight, his wells have collected 280 milliliters. The healing moonspring water glows with a beautiful, shallow silver shimmer. He extracts most of the liquid, pours it into a wooden bowl, and lists it for sale. Of course, he won't list it all at once, since a single sip can save lives. The market only sells water in 20 milliliter units, so he splits his supply. He divides it into 12 portions, each priced at 200 wood or 100 stone. He also accepts 30 meat or 2 flame crystals, welcoming private messages for rare materials. This careful pricing strategy of his is entirely deliberate. If it is too expensive, other lords cannot afford it. Forcing them to go all in would just drain them completely dry. But selling too cheap is also bad, as it only attracts greedy scalpers. A small fee cannot stop scalpers, so he lists 5 units. Meanwhile, in another highly developed territory, Han Zhang is feeling on top of the world. Buying that healing potion recipe makes him feel like a chosen one. An abandoned logging camp near his spawn point had gifted him an incredible start. He got 3 goblin wood chippers for free, meaning wood is never an issue. He has slain monsters, traded resources, and now holds a powerful healing recipe. Mass-producing these potions will allow him to easily dominate the entire market. He quickly searches the market, finds 5 moonlight grass, and buys them instantly. No haggling needed. Within moments, he has 5 freshly brewed potions ready. He lists them for 300 basic resources, excluding wood, then opens the chat. He hypes it up, announcing that cheap healing items are officially on sale. But the regional chat immediately fires back, calling him out for praising his own wares. They ask why he is not buying them himself if they are so cheap. Suddenly, the chat erupts as another lord confirms the incredible price and effects. Wait, get this, the very next message tags Gang, begging him to list more water. Han Zhang happily closes the chat, convinced that high-quality goods sell themselves. He even worries that he priced his potions a bit too low. But when he reopens the market to collect his profit, none of his potions have sold. He assumes buyers are just lying about them being sold out to hoard them. They check the chat, watching another lord rave about a single, legendary drink. Just 1 sip restored full health. Now they were ready to fight the Snowfield wolves. Buyers tagged him, begging for more listings and complaining about a greedy competitor. This rival was apparently selling garbage healing items at a ridiculously high price. As polite direct messages arrived, Han Yung slowly realized his massive mistake. He had completely misunderstood. A rival had appeared, apparently wanting a price war. Han Yung would show them real competition. Moments later, he was staring at the Moonring water. It sold for 200 wood, making him curse this seller as absolutely insane. Still, he refused to admit defeat. To win, he had to scout his enemy first. He clicked on the Moonspring water listing that our protagonist had placed at the top. It was an advertisement priced at 99,000. He sent a private message, asking if there was any more water left. He offered 300 wood, but was met with complete agonizing silence. Gritting his teeth, he decided to go all in and offered something better. He sent over a rare blueprint. Soon, notifications started flashing for our main character. His listed Moonspring water had already sold out completely. He received 198 stone after fees in under 3 minutes. 3 buyers paid in wood, while 2 paid in stone. Suddenly, his private messages exploded. He had 99 unread messages, but most of them were absolute trash. They were just freeloaders and show-offs. Luckily, he could filter them out. He configured a keyword filter to only allow offers with rare materials. Only blueprint offers got through. The rest of his stock could wait. He would choose the best deals tonight. Now, with plenty of stone, he started building. He built a tailor shop, blacksmith, and kitchen without sparing any expense. Talk about a major glow-up. The tailor shop completion notification made him quite emotional. He could finally stop walking around in soggy sneakers. He quickly crafted 2 pairs. He made them out of tiger hide. To his surprise, the boots had special stats. The blue-grade tiger hide was the real deal. He now possessed tiger hide boots. They granted +1 agility and silent running. This was a fantastic gear upgrade. They were waterproof and warm, even if the tailor's basic skills held them back. He put them on immediately, feeling instant warmth and a sudden, noticeable lightness. The other pair of boots was identical. He decided to hand them over. He summoned Aisha back from her scouting mission to give her the second pair. Meanwhile, the blacksmith shop and canteen were completed by the hardworking workers. Suddenly, a system ping alerted him to an exceptionally rare private message. His high-priority filter worked. Someone was offering a blue-grade item. It had to be a powerful blueprint or rare elemental crystals. It was Han Yung offering an elemental arrow tower blueprint. He was willing to take a massive loss just to get more Moonspring water. He opened the details of this blue-grade defense tower. Once built, it would serve as an incredibly powerful defensive structure. It boasted a range of 200 meters and up to 2,000 durability. It dealt 50% more damage when loaded with an elemental crystal. Each crystal lasted for 50 hits, and it required 200 wood, along with 80 stone, 5 iron, and 8 primary elemental crystals. That building was incredibly expensive and needed a constant crystal supply. To unleash its maximum power, he replied that while the item was good, the timing just was not right, asking what use a defensive tower had during the novice protection period. Han Zhang was clearly watching, and his reply came back, instantly insisting our hero take the initiative, since with 200 meters of range, wild monsters could be lured to the tower. He cut him off and offered 5 portions of moonspring water. Han thought he was joking, telling him he was not being sincere before signing off. Our hero just shrugged. No problem, the building was not practical right now, and he did not need it anyway. Another message arrived, this time from a lord offering primary fire elemental crystals, the currency of magic buildings, offering a 1-to-1 trade. He countered 2-to-1 and offered to buy them all. The market had no set pricing for special resources, yet making these early trades casual. He told him to list 2 units of moonspring water designated for 4 primary fire elemental crystals. The other lord was straightforward. The deal closed quickly, putting 4 fire elemental crystals into his bag. He needed just 1 more primary wood elemental crystal to build the nursery. That last crystal was proving much harder to find. Elemental crystals were incredibly rare, requiring mining, and the only mine he had found was guarded by a powerful elite monster. Crystal veins were rarer than standard mines, meaning stronger guardians, mining them in bulk, impossible right now. Only chests offered any real luck, but wait, with nearly 10,000 lords out there, enough crystals were floating around. He easily traded 1 moonspring water for 2 of them. Crystals secured, he summoned a polar worker and ordered him to build the nursery near the world tree, on empty ground. Beside the world tree sapling, the nursery took shape across 18 square meters. The snow receded, the topsoil glowed faintly green, and as he stepped inside, a wave of warmth hit him, even with temperatures close to 0. The structure had a slight greenhouse effect. The system description listed planting of basic plants with survival and harvest rates up 20% and a small chance of mutation. The wood elemental crystal made it a natural build, meaning the greenhouse effect was his territory trait at work. This left him with mixed feelings. He had built this nursery for ice crystal fruit trees, which sounded like cold climate crops. Was a warm nursery actually suitable for them? Still not. Planting anything in the nursery would make building it pointless, and honestly, why did he consider 0 degrees warm? Plus, with his mystical world tree, surely a common crop would not die. He decided to plant it, taking out an ice crystal fruit, pushing the soft soil aside and planting the tree. The rest was up to time, and by tomorrow morning he would know if it survived. Suddenly, the newly planted tree began growing rapidly, shooting up as if fed growth hormones. The originally stunted half-person tall sapling shot up to his chest, its status red mature, yielding 12 ice crystal fruits daily, boosted by his unique territory traits in the nursery effect, a 300% growth rate, absolutely insane. Without the world tree accelerating this growth, it would only yield 3 fruits every 3 days. That was not very impressive, but right now, 6 young fruits had already formed on the tree. Soon, he might finally get a taste. At dinner, Aisha returned to camp, her face grim. Someone was watching them. He nodded for her to continue. On her path back, she spotted suspicious figures. They lurked just outside the borders, gray-robed and seemingly human. She had already knocked them cold on the west side. He asked about their origin. All gray robes, she replied. They looked like him, so they were likely human. He ordered her to lead the way, summoning the polar folk to assist. Sure enough, 2 gray-robed figures lay unconscious in the deep western snow. The system prompt flashed. They were undead believers, level 4 human undead. His eyes narrowed sharply. This was a total nightmare. He remembered these crazy zealots from the closed beta. They were the first act's final boss. He cursed, his mind racing. The novice shield was still active, yet these monsters could summon endless hordes. Just imagine a massive horde storming his camp. That is nightmare fuel. It was a chilling thought. Fortunately, they caught this threat early. Without this warning, he would have been wiped out without a fight. He waved for the polar warriors to drag the prisoners inside for interrogation. They needed answers. A splash of boiling water quickly shocked the cultists awake. Before Aisha could draw a blade, they they immediately began raving like maniacs. They spat curses about disgusting life energy and the stench of nature. Screaming, they declared that elves belonged in the garbage bin of history. The coming scourge would flatten everything and wipe out all errors. Only death was eternal. Both prisoners ranted with pure, mad zeal. They did not care about being captured, shouting their crazed slogans. Repeating the same lines, they offered no real intelligence. He ordered their execution. Aisha drew her short sword, but ghostly green fire suddenly erupted from within. The flames incinerated both instantly. Fortunately, Aisha had already picked their pockets. She had grabbed a crude map pointing straight to the cult's gathering ground. The map also clearly marked the territories of several neighboring lords. Clearly, the local factions were actively planning against all the newly arrived lords. At least he was not their sole target, which was somewhat comforting. But here is the catch: these cultists absolutely despised elves. As an elven lord, he would likely face their full fury very soon. Waiting around meant death. He needed Hanjong's elemental tower blueprint fast. Just then, a system notification pinged. Aisha had slain the cultists. For her level 4 kill, the lord received 10 experience points. Even though they self-destructed, the system still gave her full credit. As long as the lord stayed nearby, he gained a free slice of experience. Other units only earned shares based on their actual combat contribution. He was still unsure about the natives. Then, another message popped up. Aisha's presence flared. She had successfully leveled up to 6. Her previous battle with the Shadow Tiger paid off. She unlocked something new. This was incredible luck. Most troops required skill books to learn abilities. Naturally developing a skill was extremely rare in this world. It usually only occurred with elite units at level 10 or 20. Gaining a third skill at level 6 proved she was highly gifted. Talk about lucky. Without waiting for her introduction, he opens her panel. He checks Arrow of the Moon God. It consumes 30 mana, making her fired. Arrow absolutely precise and guaranteed to hit, double damage on moonlit nights. And quadrupled during full moons, it is a conceptual guaranteed hit skill. With 0 cooldown and 4 times the punch, he wonders if her charge shot can combine with it. If so, a full moon night would yield 8 times the damage. That thought is incredible, but the skill is not perfect. 30 mana per arrow is too pricey for Aisha. Right now, he tells her well done, and she credits his light shining. Upon her for bringing down the moon god's favor, he is startled, briefly wondering if he is really that amazing before casting the thought aside. She is a subordinate with 100% loyalty, the completely devoted kind. He can order to her death. Back in his old life, workers said, "Success depends entirely on good leadership. No need to take it seriously," he tells Aisha. To verify the map's accuracy, combine it with the areas Fenrir explored, and draw a new one, but then he changes his mind and decides to go along. With danger looming close, he plans to speed things up using the remaining tiger skin. He visits the tailor shop to craft a shadow tiger hide coat. A few minutes later, a glowing green beast hide coat rests in his hands. The shadow robe gives bonus constitution and slightly reduces incoming physical damage. It is a great warm coat, even if the tailor admits it looks ugly. He puts it on, handing his old cotton jacket and tiger boots over to Aisha. Telling her to wear them, she takes them but only puts on the boots. Holding the bulky coat, apologetically, she explains that the heavy jacket would ruin her agility, promising to wear it when they rest. He tells her to suit herself, although the coat is just simple beast hide with no warm lining. It feels incredibly warm. With his new gear, he figures his outdoor survival time in the frozen wilderness will stretch significantly. Before leaving, he leaves Gil in charge of the territory's construction and gathering tasks. The main job this afternoon is gathering stone and building up defenses. And if anyone spots an enemy out there, they must retreat immediately. Safety always comes first. Gil is so touched by this care that he is nearly teary-eyed, though his loyalty stat does not budge. Beyond 80, every single point becomes incredibly hard to earn. They head north, his new gear making outdoor exploration a breeze. The two of them easily cover 3 to 4 kilometers in just 30 minutes across the freezing Arctic terrain. He does not even shiver. He gathers scattered wood and stone along the way, not because he needs basics. But seriously, who can resist the satisfying joy of collecting random loot? And there is even a wood element crystal just sitting there waiting, the exact resource he previously struggled to trade for. Blessed by nature's bounty, they finally reach the destination marked on their map. He gazes over the endless expanse of snow. Completely unable to find any sign of life, he pulls out the map to double-check, deeply puzzled about how this empty wasteland could be a gathering. Hub, wondering if the map is wrong, Aisha softly warns him that someone is approaching. Two gray-robed figures appear at the edge of his vision. Sneaking around, he pulled Aisha behind a small snowdrift to avoid being seen. With the snowdrift being incredibly tiny, the two of them had to huddle tightly. Aisha practically burrowed into his chest, sending her sweet, faint fragrance straight to him. But there was absolutely zero time for distractions. He kept his eyes locked ahead. The two mysterious figures in front squatted down, fumbling around in the snow. Then out of nowhere, they vanished completely into the vast, frozen wilderness. He looked down at Aisha in his arms, asking if she saw where they went. She shook her head, so he gently peeled her small hands off his winter coat. Walking over to their vanishing spot, he found a wooden hatch buried in snow. It was an underground sanctuary that the cultists had carved out of the ice. Buried under deep snow, nobody would ever stumble upon this place by accident. Without that map and seeing those guys use it, he would be completely lost. But knowing the entrance location brings a new problem. His sniper strategy is ruined. With Aisha's guaranteed hit bow, they were supposed to slowly pick enemies off from afar. But deep underground, that plan fails. Charging blindly into the dark is suicide. Flooding or burning them out is impossible without knowing the layout first. He checked his watch, 3:18 p.m., less than 2 hours of light remaining. Minus the half-hour return journey, the risk is simply too high. Tomorrow then. Tomorrow he can mutate another item and upgrade his powerful Barrett sniper bullets. Plus, feeding Fenrir that beast essence blood will make him much stronger. He can build more moon wells tonight, so he marks the entrance. Memorizing the spot, he guides Aisha away to explore a different path. In a world with only 8 hours of sun, wasting daylight is forbidden. They scavenge as they walk, slowly filling in the blank map areas. Luckily, a stray snow wolf attacks, but Aisha easily takes it down. That is one more hide and 20 pieces of wolf meat, only 27 minutes left. He wraps his warm shadow tiger fur coat tightly against the bitter, freezing wind. His weak constitution has hit its limit, so they head to the mine. Dug-up minerals do not automatically send themselves straight to his main warehouse. Without a railway system, he is forced to act as a human pack mule. Carrying everything his workers gathered, they finally make it back just in time. Returning at 5:02 in the evening, the temperature sits at 53 degrees. His territory is really coming together, from just a lonely campfire and world tree. He now has 4 moonwells, a blacksmith, tailor, cafeteria, and several cabins. Looking over his base brings a massive wave of pride, better than any game. While waiting for dinner to cook, he opens up the trade market. He plans to list his extra shadow tiger meat and valuable moonspring water. Checking his long-muted private inbox, he begins to scan through the offers. One person wants to trade a toilet blueprint for a single moonspring water. Another is desperately asking Lord Gang about a rare water elemental crystal. Fortunately, his inbox filters kept it clean, leaving only 8 valid messages. He accepts the trades for stone and wood, completely depleting his healing water reserves. His moonring water is temporarily gone, but luckily, night has finally fallen. The 4 moonwells are already producing, meaning it will replenish overnight. Still, even with a massive system cheat, 2 days of survival is brutal. Blueprint let alone the others. If Hanjang hadn't surfaced as a competitor, he probably would have delayed even longer. He muttered to himself, wondering when these people would go out exploring and bring him back blueprints and materials, and then conveniently get hurt enough to need his moonspring water. Forget it, eat. First, the scent of meat wafted dozens of meters to his nose. Dinner was ready. He called Gil to bring the others to eat. After a few bites of shadow tiger meat, a warm current surged inside him, and the system reported he'd consumed shadow tiger meat, and his cold resistance had increased. The prompt enlightened him. He quickly opened the regional channel to verify a guess. Lords were complaining about over-recruiting polar people. Crying, he wholeheartedly agreed. Indeed, these people were too much to feed. He'd miscalculated, took down snow rabbit easily yesterday and assumed wild game was common, set up at 2 meals a day. Standard for the polar people, can't keep up. He basically explored within 500 meters, and that was as far as it got. The constant temperature buff only lasted 20 Minutes and going further, the time he could stay was too short, one boasted about his snowfield wolf fur coat, calling out others for treating early welfare as actual ability. He claimed he had foresight, only recruiting 2, feeding them once daily. Food was trading for wood and stone at 1 to 30. Someone yelled, "Why not? Just rob them instead." The seller snapped back, "Buy or get lost." Others wanted it with only 10 portions, first come first served. A lord jumped on it, knowing that only well-fed workers have the strength to work, and polar people would rebel. Some even declared they were quitting this harsh world altogether, wanting to die well-fed. Seeing this, Gang Yu knew his guess was correct. Without cold-resistant clothing, weak cold resistance severely restricted lords from venturing out. The food shortage was real too, signs he'd overlooked. One snowfield wolf gave only 18 wolf meat. 4 polar people cost 2 food and ate a lot, and he could use little fairies, but other lords couldn't. If they wanted speed, even he only had enough after killing an elite, with over 100 pieces of shadow tiger meat in his pack, and realizing that it was both food and cold resistance, his was a major strategic resource. Market meat trade was set at 25 to 30 basic materials, but he had a better idea. List it. Any elemental crystal for 3 portions, equipment blueprints starting at 10 portions with review, skill books also at 10 portions blind, no basic materials, only 100 portions listed. He didn't have enough to eat himself if he wasn't conquering the believers tomorrow with a chance of looting food. He wouldn't sell any at all. The moment his food hit the market, the regional channel exploded. Lord Gang Yu was making a move again. Can't afford it. Don't shout, it's food that increases cold resistance. Purchased, didn't you? Say you couldn't afford it. One joked he was a college student, asking Lord Gang Yu to give it to him free with moonspring water. His exchange conditions required rare items, blueprints, skill books, and elemental crystals, so most were just complaining. The lords who could actually buy were already messaging him, including Han Jiang. Proposing a sincere trade, he offered 30 units of tiger meat for the elemental arrow tower blueprint. The last line in their chat was clearly his own, claiming Gang Yu wasn't sincere and shouldn't bother him. He sent it back, saying, "You are not." He was sincere. "Please do not bother me." Han Zhang did not bat an eye, muttering that he held a grudge. That tiger meat mattered. He really prided himself on being the top player in the area. Having been out frequently today, he felt the cold's heavy constraints. Cold resistance was absolutely vital for fast development. He argued that basic blueprints went for 10. This was blue quality. 30 was his lowest price. Without his warning about the building's construction requirements, he would not have considered selling it at all. Too lazy to read the text, he let him stew. He opened other private messages, finding someone politely asking how much tiger meat the portable heat source blueprint was worth. Out of curiosity, he opened it. Portable heat source blueprint, blue quality, excellent. It crafts a mana item. Portable heat source, requiring 1 mana stone, 3 iron, 1 primary fire elemental crystal. The item continuously emitted heat, and the developer's note calling it a groundbreaking invention that raised the user's perceived temperature by nearly 10 degrees in -30 environments, consuming only 1 mana stone per day under full operation. The description called it an air conditioner, a transcendent world meant for a single user. He was shocked. This thing's status in this ice age was like spiritual energy to a cultivation world. He had not named a price, asking him to. He tested with a question about whether values matched. The seller replied that he knew the blueprint's value was far above food, but he had only got it by luck and could not craft it himself. The market had no mana stones, and the world channel had not heard of it. Blueprints for such necessities would not stay rare for long, but this was the first in their area. And most valuable. He had been honest. The sooner this got crafted, the better for everyone in the area, and he needed startup capital with only Brother Gang in this area capable of using it. He understood why the seller chose him, but still marveled at his courage. Everyone understands a bird in the hand, but not everyone can act on it, even if a second or third blueprint surfaced later. As long as it was not for everyone, it kept value and even clicked to craft. Items required a progress bar. He offered 80 tiger meat plus a promise. In the future, as long as he provided the materials, he would craft this item for him free. Having spoken so frankly, he earned his trust, and the terms were generous on his end. He had incredible luck and was easy to talk to. A good relationship might pay off later. Plus, he wasn't really losing. 80 tiger meat for someone who never lacked food again, plus tiger meat's cold resistance only worked on the first consumption per person anyway. He agreed, wishing for happy cooperation and the trade closed. He noted his name, Tano, used the blueprint, and continued chewing his dinner, hoping to get a mana stone soon. Another task for tomorrow. Then he remembered Han Zhong waiting. Opening the chat, he was amused to see his tiger meat was popular. He dropped his price from 30 to 20, a full third off, like swinging a dragon-slaying saber, and hacking himself with it, he replied with 15. Meanwhile, in another well-developed territory, a young man with a gloomy expression typed out a deal. He was Han Zhong. After the trade, he looked at the meat inside. A loss was a loss, but at least he had it. Now he could go deeper into that ruin. Just wait, he thought, directing his anger. He would earn it all back sooner or later, tomorrow. He would make him beg for his potions. On his end, he quickly built the arrow tower. He had the blueprint, all the materials too, but he wasn't building it yet. He had to wait. The novice protection period was almost over anyway. He still had tiger meat left. Time to check private messages for one last ultimate item, right when Fenrir excitedly asked to absorb the essence blood. He nodded. Go right ahead. His safety was his absolute top priority. No forcing it. The fanatical beast swallowed the blood and went off to refine. Meanwhile, the Lord kept scrolling through private messages. With limited meat, he needed the absolute best of the best. Soon, his eyes lit up. A skill book, the white common grade chop skill. It unleashed 2 instant slashes for 30 mana with a 30-second cooldown. The seller wanted 10 tiger meat. He bought it instantly. Why didn't the seller use it? He didn't care. He wasn't using it either. Mutation was the real plan. Slashes with bare hands. What would he even slash with? A random piece of wood, perhaps. Like a sword, in this harsh world, unsewn tiger hides provided warmth. He had already used 2 wooden logs as a crude sled for hauling stones. The plan remained the same. Mutate it tomorrow. Suddenly, a low growl shook the air. Fenrir's aura flared wildly under the pale moonlight as he digested the essence blood. A system prompt flashed. The wolf had successfully absorbed the shadow tiger essence blood, upgrading his aptitude to excellent. Overall enhancement received. Fenrir, standing visibly taller now, knelt and swore to tear all enemies to shreds with his new power. The Lord waved him up. Just a reward for loyalty. Next, he inspected the companion's attributes. Crippled Claw Werewolf, Elite Template, excellent aptitude at level 5. Loyalty 95, Strength 19, Agility 22, Constitution 24, Spirit 11, Health 730. Mana 220, Self-Healing Talent. Skills were Summon Wolf, Werewolf Transformation, and a new Wolf Howl with critical strike scaling. Summon Wolf was upgraded, calling 2 Shadow Wolves of the same level. Daily, Wolf Howl boosted friendly basic attacks by 10% and weakened enemies by 10% for 30 seconds, doubling at night with a small 1-hour cooldown per target. The compatibility here was terrifying. His aptitude jumped a tier and stats surged. Talk about a massive win. And the biggest gain, the perfect Shadow Tiger inheritance, keeping his own ability system intact. The summoned Shadow Wolves inherited Shadow itself, turning invisible when out of combat. Their corrosive claws weakened defense and movement. They could easily fight 2 Snowfield Wolves. Power has a price though. These Shadow Wolves had massive appetites, which was why they hadn't been summoned yet. Suddenly, a freezing gust hit the camp, dropping temperatures to -38 by the fire and 60 below outside. He ordered Geel to lead the polar people back inside the tree hole, whispering their room numbers, 2 per room, starting from 109. Fenrir got room 103. Aisha was coming with him. The polar people rushed inside. Without looking back, they had been desperate for rest. Meanwhile, Fenrir shot an envious glance at Aisha and quickly entered his room. No one dared disturb the Lord. He had important business with Aisha. A touch on the world tree guides them to room 100, a massive space with connected tree holes. This space serves as a meeting room and training area for his lessons. Aisha is stunned, never expecting the Lord would seek her for combat lessons. Still, she agrees and asks what he wants to learn. His mind is already set on archery. Back in his peaceful past life, he had never even killed a single chicken. Growing up in complete peace makes actual combat a massive, terrifying hurdle. But in this brutal new world, he has no choice but to bite the bullet. He is no keyboard warrior hiding behind a screen. A lord must fight directly. With 4 free skill slots, the system demands that he gets his hands dirty. Starting slow makes sense, so he chooses ranged weapons. Aisha begins with the basics. True archery is far more than simply drawing a string and releasing an arrow. Real mastery requires perfect stance, precise force application, and intense mental focus. Luckily, Aisha is an elite ranger, and she proves to be an incredibly patient instructor. She breaks down the complex mechanics into simple, digestible steps. With her direct guidance, his aim improves dramatically over a single night. Within 10 meters, he lands at least half of his fired shots. Aisha calls him the most naturally gifted human archer she has ever seen. On day 3, he wakes to the rich aroma of roasting meat. The clock reads 8 a.m., but outside it is a brutal -62 degrees. Dawn is still an hour away. Fenrir and Aisha wait in the mess hall. They refuse to touch a single bite until the Lord finally joins them. Despite the heavy fatigue dragging down his shoulders, he deeply appreciates the respect. With 1 dark hour left after breakfast, he focuses on today's potential mutations. He places the Chop skill book directly into the positive mutation slot. The system flashes, a positive mutation has been triggered. The new item is the 3 lives in an instant cultivation manual. It is golden legendary quality, bathing the entire room in brilliant light. Getting a legendary item from a basic white starting tier is pure luck. Description reveals that learning this manual will unlock unique skills based on level. Level 1 gives combo, level 11 unlocks triple combo, and level 30 grants 3 world slash. Level 50 unlocks 3 lives in an instant, and it only occupies a single slot. Each milestone automatically overwrites his previous skill to save valuable space. Better yet, these tier upgrades can still be enhanced like any standard skill. With his daily positive mutation spent, he uses the skill manual immediately. A blinding beam of light enters his body as the system confirms the mastery. He has officially mastered the combo skill. This passive ability is wild. It unleashes 2 instant attacks every 15 seconds with 0 mana cost. Unlike the original version, this upgraded combo does not restrict his weapon choice. Bow, rifle, or sword triggers the double hit, and the cooldown is halved. A legendary level passive, even at base tier, is absolutely terrifying to witness. Feeling incredibly lucky, he decides to roll the dice on his remaining mutations. The first unstable mutation goes to bandages pulled from his daily medical kit. The system spits out a mummy shroud, a special grade item with 0 utility. Aside from basic mummy cosplay, it is useless, so he throws it in the fire. Expressionless, he targets the next unstable mutation at the actual medical kit. The system rewards him with an excellent quality blue healing recruitment scroll. It randomly pulls a healer from a massive pool of races, including holy light priests, beast priests, elf druids, and undead witch doctors. Even robotic repair units and dragonkin healers are on the table. He silently hopes for an elf druid or at least a human. With a deep breath, he rips the scroll, releasing blue light. Countless glowing figures spin through the air as the projection solidifies. A gorgeous woman in white priestly robes and a golden crown appears. She holds a sapphire staff, looking like a holy priest. But suddenly a powerful external force intervenes, shattering the image. A blinding pillar of light erupts, shrinks, and vanishes entirely. Standing in its place is a young man holding a black and red sacred text. The book is bound in white chains, and he wears a cynical smirk. Pressing the book to his chest, he bows and introduces himself. He is Martin, a priest grateful to escape the darkness. He offers a warm blessing of holy light to his new master and territory. The Lord keeps a straight face, though he is internally reeling. Losing the beautiful priestess is completely fine, since utility matters far more than looks. But this weird priest is clearly not some simple, basic unit. For a second, he wonders if this guy will even follow orders. Then he reminds himself that he is the Lord, and defiance has its limits. Welcoming Martin, he expresses hope that his holy light will keep them all healthy. The priest simply smiles and promises it will be as he wishes. With a smile, Martin opens his sacred book, and a gentle beam of pure light descends. Everyone feels a sudden warmth, and the fatigue from overnight archery vanishes. Strangely, no system notifications pop up during this process. To see what he actually got, he opens Martin's status panel. His eyes widen. Martin is an elite template designated as an epic hero. At level 1, his loyalty is 65, with a high spirit stat. He boasts a talent called Chain of Life and powerful healing spells. The Lord stares blankly at that shocking epic hero tag on his screen. He stares so long that Martin notices and patiently waits. He doubts his tier 1 territory can even handle a powerhouse. No complaints here, a win is a win, and he has no intention of complaining. As if reading his mind, Martin explains his hero strength is currently sealed. He needs to reach level 31 to unlock his true strength. But under his leadership, he believes that day will come soon. Martin glances at the world tree, Fenrir, and Aisha as the system rings. The priest has officially joined, bringing his population to 55. The Lord ignores the system's slow response since he already checked the stats. Still, one nagging question remains quietly in the back of his mind. Why did Martin's magic cure his fatigue without a system ping, he asks. The priest replies that it was just a custom application of holy magic. The Lord is stunned, realizing this guy's power goes beyond status screens. But then again, this is a real world, not a game. Just like Aisha, whose archery and combat skills did not show up on the system panel. Meaning Martin's actual utility was far above any normal level 1 elite. Taking down that undead believer's camp was a sure thing. He lifted his wooden bowl and offered Martin breakfast. The priest thanked him, admitting he was a bit hungry, but rather than the standard stew, his gaze drifted toward the ice crystal. Fruit tree in the nursery. The Lord had been so busy practicing archery last night. He had completely forgotten the fruit had ripened. He picked the 9 ripe ones, placed them on the table, and gestured for Martin to help himself. Ice. Crystal fruit was food, slightly boosting cold resistance for a limited time since it was another temporary cold resistance buffer. He bit into one. It tasted like apple, sending a cool sensation surging through him. The effect was clearly different from the tiger meat. Meanwhile, Martin took only a single fruit, nibbling it slowly with perfect elegance. Dawn was almost here, and he needed to prepare for sunrise. The precious moonring water had to be collected and listed on the trading shelves before organizing today's construction and gathering tasks. There were plenty of minor chores, but he finished them quickly by 9 o'clock. As the dim light broke, he was fully prepared. He wanted a management hero more than ever. As the territory developed, these daily chores would only multiply, and he wanted to be a hands-off boss. Back at the bonfire, his 3 companions were geared up and ready. He told Fenrir to summon his new companions. The werewolf nodded, let out a long howl, and 2 massive pure black shadow wolves materialized right out of thin air. The beasts were almost as large as the shadow tiger he had fought before, making them perfect mounts, but the math did not match 4 people, only 2 wolves. After a moment of thought, he made a decision. As Lord, he needed a fitting ride. And the second wolf would go to Aisha, the most loyal companion in the group. As he was about to assign them, his eyes fell on Gil climbing into the logging machine. That was it. Who said a logging machine was only meant for cutting trees? The tracked base comfortable cabin, it was actually a solid transport vehicle. He apologized to Aisha for making her squeeze in with him. Then he told Fenrir and Martin that one of them could ride the second wolf while the other could drive the machine. He swore he had absolutely no ulterior motives for sharing a ride with Aisha. The werewolf Fenrir was so massive that he had to ride alone or use the heavy vehicle anyway. And since Martin was a newly recruited hero, they could not just bully the newcomer. They agreed. Fenrir looked at Martin, signaling for the priest to choose first. Although Fenrir could not see Martin's stats, he sensed a faint, deadly threat radiating from the man. In this world, power demanded respect. Martin chose to ride the shadow wolf, appearing surprisingly comfortable around dark creatures. For a holy priest, at dawn they finally set off. Wolf claws kicked up the silent snow. The space on the wolf's back was incredibly cramped for 2 people. He could clearly feel the softness and warmth pressed against his back, her natural scent drifting from her hair directly toward him. The biting wind blew dark strands of hair against his neck, tickling him slightly. In less than half an hour of traveling, they arrived near the camp of the undead believers. The Lord dismounted with an expressionless face and stored the massive logging vehicle. Fenrir, Martin, and the Lord found cover, while Aisha led the 2 invisible shadow wolves. Only Aisha and he knew the location, too risky for the Lord. Soon Aisha returned with the wolves, and Fenrir got a quick report. He conversed with them briefly, then turned back. The strongest enemy here. Just peak 0, he smiled. Creatures under level 10 were weak. That meant level 10 was their limit. This would be easy. A tier 1 Fenrir alone was enough. Go, he ordered them. Fenrir led the way, and the others followed close behind him. They didn't hide. Fenrir directly ripped away the stone cover. Humid air rushed out. A warm underground world lay waiting. This place had fire sources. He wondered if they had bonfires. Like his own undying flame, it was time to go down. A system prompt popped up. Danger, novice protection period warning. Recommended level 10. He was entering the undead believer's den. What a helpful system feature. Recommended level 10, no problem. He slid down the ladder, and instantly, 3 hostile voices erupted at once, demanding to know who was there and shouting about an attack. One even cheered for fresh sacrifices delivered right to their door. 3 gray-robed figures, apparently about to leave, blocked them. Jarring shouts shattered the quiet, and heavy footsteps approached from deep inside. He heard them coming. Finish this quickly, he ordered. Drawing his bow, he condensed an arrow of pure mana. He released the string, sending the magic arrow flying. Then, instantly, a phantom duplicate formed beside him, matching his pose. A combo 2 arrows shot out together, striking hard. Screams echoed as blood gushed from a gray-robed chest, a clean hit. These mana arrows were great. They dissolved after doing damage. No messy cleanup, just automatic bleeding. Fenrir leaped in next, tearing off a head with 1 claw, a clean kill. Aisha was just as lethal, slitting the last throat effortlessly. The system chimed. Fenrir had defeated a level 4 believer. 10 experience points gained. The brief underground skirmish was already over. Martin didn't even move. Aisha and Fenrir were pure elites. His own swift strikes left Aisha in absolute awe. She marveled at her lord's terrifying adaptability in combat. The lord who had never faced real battle was showing incredible talent. He began looting the bodies, human undead believers, 3 total. The system offered no convenient collection services for humans. He stripped the gray robes off them, avoiding any sudden self-immolation. Free spoils of war, other lords were begging for clothes. He also found some pieces of dried meat, but nothing else. By the time he finished collecting, the enemy reinforcements finally arrived. The leader stood out, black robes, holding a magic staff. He was clearly a magic user, and the system scanned his attributes. An undead believer, template is green excellent, level 10. His primary skill was undead revival, and he was level 10. The creature is a peak 0 order existence, but has a basic, unspecialized combat template. Because of this, the party ignores him and watches the believers approach. The Lord tells Martin to take the black-robed leader, while Aisha and Fenrir clear the grunts. He wants to test Martin's true strength, though. Martin lacks active attack skills. Still, holy light should burn these transforming cultists. Indeed, the gray-robed corpses the young lord has just looted were far paler than normal humans. Then Martin acts, holy light gathers in his hand. Instantly, a brilliant golden beam strikes down from the heavens, enveloping the black-robed leader. The engulfed cultist lets out an agonizing shriek as dark energy burns away. In the blink of an eye, the system confirms the kill. The protagonist is stunned. Martin has a hero template, but at level 1, he should only have elite level power, yet a single healing spell just completely obliterated a level 10 enemy. The Lord quickly checks the spell details. Holy Light Healing is an instant cast. Spell costing 100 mana. It heals 5 times the user's spirit, but deals 10 times that in damage to the undead. He had not misremembered. Even with the double damage modifier, seriously, how broken is that? That is when he notices Martin's holy book is not just for decoration. Crimson light pulses across the cover. It is an epic tier item. Looking at his own bow, the protagonist sighs. It is just a green quality weapon borrowed from Aisha. The basic effect that uses mana to create arrows. Meanwhile, Aisha and Fenrir clash with the rest. After finishing his task, Martin casually closes his tome, showing no interest in supporting his teammates or rushing to kill more cultists. Strangely, these targets are already transforming into undead. This makes the Lord wonder, why does Martin have no urge to purify this dark energy? Could it be that in this world, holy power and the undead are not natural enemies, yet the skill description is very clear about the massive damage dealt? Perhaps Martin is simply an exception to the rule. Before long, the skirmish is over. The notifications roll in. Fenrir kills a level 4 cultist, granting 10 experience points. Then, Aisha takes down a level 5 target, giving 12 experience, the Lords. Level rises to level 3, not surprising at all, guided by 3 powerful elites. He is basically carrying out a high-tier dungeon run, just kicking back and soaking up exp, plus, the early levels require very little experience. Combined, these factors spark his rapid growth, yet strangely, Martin's level remains at level 1, despite soloing a level 10 black-robed elite. The protagonist figures that the stronger a hero's template, the more experience they need to level up. Next, he loots the battlefield, 8 gray-robed cultists and the leader yield 8 gray robes, along with their simple weapons. The robes are basic cotton with no magic stats. The weapons are simple, but still better than nothing. Many other lords are completely empty-handed. He decides to save some gear for his citizens for self-defense, and sell the rest cheap on the open market. The black-robed leader dropped a staff. A robe, a book, a map, and some coins. He inspects the staff, his mind shifting toward a potential weapon combo. The system description for it says, simply attack. This skill manifested a phantom that perfectly copied his strikes. If spells could combo, he might have just discovered his ideal fighting style. His class was Lord, something he could not change, but Lords could still learn magic. His status panel clearly showed mana and spirit stats, and spells packed a serious punch. Despite high costs and long cooldowns, they were absolutely ideal for his combo skill. It was stable and controllable, letting him trigger combos exactly when he wanted. Unfortunately, the specialized Lord class only offered him 4 total free skill slots. With combo taking up 1 slot, he could only master 3 other skills systematically. Fortunately, in this realistic world, he could master magic through simple, old-fashioned study. Balanced attributes, that was the Lord class's main perk. Each level up boosted every single one of his attributes, amplified further by his passive Lord trait. He had the perfect foundational stats, but true magic required actual talent. Would he make a good mage? He asked Martin about his potential. Martin fell silent for a long moment before finally letting out a soft, amused smile. He explained that only 3 types of people could ever command the holy light: true believers in the light, worshippers of the sun god, or those with exceptionally pure hearts. He knew instantly he was disqualified. Holy magic was overrated anyway. He had 0 interest in acting as a support player, turning back to the loot instead. He pulled out a worn, yellowed book, a common white-grade militia training manual. With this manual, he could easily whip any normal citizen in his territory into fighting shape. However, it required a functional militia training camp building to actually work. Absolute trash. He tossed the manual straight into his bottomless inventory. In this world, this basic manual and camp combination was how most ordinary lords built up their armies. Standard militia soldiers were weak, extremely weak, no talent. They almost never reached Tier 1, leaving them with only 2 real options: prison or transmutation. Those were their only real options. Still, these basic soldiers could gather resources and eventually upgrade to higher tiers. Next, he scooped up a heavy, clinking coin purse. The system confirmed it held exactly 16 copper coins, a very common currency. It was minted by the 3 northern empires. Conversion rates were 10,000 to 100 to 1, copper to gold. Cash ruled this world too. Some things just never change. Finally, he grabbed a map, much more detailed than the cultist's earlier version. It displayed several new locations that he marked to investigate much later on. His squad pushed forward, squeezing through a cramped, hand-carved underground tunnel. Within minutes, they finally emerged into a massive, brightly illuminated hall. He was absolutely amazed that the cultists had managed to excavate this huge, 10-meter-deep cave in freezing cold. Right in the center flickered a dying, level 3 bonfire on its last legs. Since its owner had died, it was slowly fading without an undying ember. Apparently, even the locals relied on bonfires to survive. Past the flames lay a gruesome scene, a beating heart floating in green liquid. Scattered bones and frozen body parts suggested they were conducting horrific experiments here. He prepared to scavenge, then a sharp metallic clang echoed. Heavy chains rattled nearby. Was someone still alive in here? Shadow Wolf intelligence suggested a dozen survivors remained. The strongest peak Tier 0 fighters were split between the black and gray robes. Even though the system prompt called this a level 10 challenge, he felt relaxed and ordered the group to fan out and search. Resources here were incredibly abundant. He grabbed 13 iron, 26 meat, over 100 bread, 42 arrows, and 1 mithril, 3 basic undead crystals. In this huge haul, he had to discard some load of junk to fit the loot. A 20-slot backpack simply could not hold everything. The solution was easy. Upgrade his territory to Tier 2 and the system backpack would automatically expand. He joined the search for the sound drawn out and harsh, sounding both far and near. This hall had just one narrow passage leading to the surface. Martin's voice echoed, saying it was right beneath this mural. Bone. Dragons covered the sky and sun, with skeletons spanning mountains and fields. He smelled a rotting stench behind it. Sensing no doubts, he gathered everyone to search and fumble around the mural for a while. Eventually, he triggered a hidden mechanism, and the mural slowly parted from the center, sliding to both sides. As it opened, chilling aura surged forward, and the already flickering campfire behind them was instantly snuffed out, plunging the space into absolute darkness. Once it opened completely, glow from behind lit up the underground hall once more. That light radiated from a glowing white stone, a purple transcendent holy light stone, imbued with incredibly rich holy light energy. Though a system note warned it was nearly depleted, its brilliant glare was dazzling, but most was being sucked into a deep black hole nearby. As his gaze locked onto the void, a system prompt popped up: unidirectional spatial rift. The other side connected to the undead realm, currently suppressed by that holy light stone, and remained closed, with a countdown of 92 hours, 3 days and 20 hours. He instinctively checked the protection period's end time, also 92 hours. You just know the chaos after protection ends is going to be linked to this rift. Just then, chains rattled again. He stepped to one side of the rift, free from the rift swallowing the light. He located the source instantly. Behind the rift sat a bloated humanoid. He wanted to yell how incredibly ugly it was, a total abomination. The monster looked like a haphazardly stitched mass of flesh, its limbs entirely disproportionate, clearly put together using organs from different species. Its left arm was short and thick, the right long and slender, the left leg muscular, right leg thin and weak. The whole body was covered in dense stitch lines oozing dark red blood. The most horrifying part was its split open abdomen, where a human head rested, with intestines and blood vessels visibly connected behind it. A tiny head sat atop its thick body, the neck almost completely invisible. The chain wrapped around its left arm trailed along the ground, dragging and clinking as the beast moved, while its right hand held a bloody cleaver. The system revealed its stats: stitched monster pudge, level 15, elite undead with excellent strength 72, agility 37, constitution 98, spirit 11, health over 10,000, mana 200. Talent artificial being, boosting max health 100%, region 200. The description noted this terrifying vitality was key to Pudge's survival. His skills included hook, throwing a chain that entangled and dragged the first target it hit directly in front of Pudge. Toxic cloud emitted from rotten wounds continuously damaged his surroundings, and himself slowing targets with self-damage halved. Another passive flesh accumulation gained him attributes with every kill, excluding spirit, based on the look at this creature's strength, an active flesh aura blocking all damage. That barrier absorbs massive damage for 3 seconds before going on cooldown. Its devour skill lets it swallow dead targets to randomly steal their abilities, literally making them a permanent part of its body. The young man grew solemn. Sure, the thing was incredibly ugly, but no one could call it weak. It had 5-digit health, heavy defense, and insane crowd control. He would have run away instantly if Martin had not joined their team. But seeing Martin one-shot a level 10 beast with simple healing magic changed his mind. He wanted to take the risk. Luckily, the boss did not seem aggressive. The creature just stared up at him for a moment before lowering its head. He realized this must be exactly why the system did not issue a warning. This was a completely passive beast that would never attack first. He sent Fenrir closer while retreating back toward the entrance. Safe with Aisha and Martin, they confirmed the monster was passive. Filled with excitement, he quickly put together a basic battle plan. Just simple preparation, because we all know things can go sideways fast. They did not need a complex strategy. Martin started the fight. He flipped open his dark tome, casting a glowing golden chain around them. A faint, invisible connection immediately bound their souls together in that moment. This life chain shared any incoming damage equally among all of them. It slashed raw damage by 20% and completely blocked instant death. This protective shield lasted for 30 minutes before its long cooldown. Martin's incredible class talent gave them all massive survivability. Exactly the confidence boost they needed to face a level 15 elite. Martin chanted softly, summoning 3 bright holy lights above their heads. The blessing of courage boosted their stats significantly, ramping up their attack power. He and Martin stood near the entrance to watch the clash safely. As an experienced player, he understood threat mechanics very well. Healers always drew the most aggression from powerful dungeon bosses, and Pudge's massive iron chains were absolutely no joke to face. Fenrir and Aisha charged forward as the mighty wolf let out a roar. His muscles surged violently as he transformed into a giant wolf. But the overwhelming pressure radiating from Pudge was still terrifying to face. Fenrir chose to activate his ultimate ability immediately. Aisha gripped her bow, her aura surging wildly. She charged her shot while Fenrir lunged forward like a dark shadow. His sharp claws struck Pudge's exposed belly with a dull clang. It felt like hitting solid steel, forcing the wolf to wince and retreat. Suddenly, 2 massive skeletal bone hands materialized from the air. They trapped the wolf completely. The young man saw red eyes glowing on Pudge. This was a magic skill stolen from its Devour passive. Martin hurried to cast a spell, but someone was faster. A loud gunshot rang out, striking Pudge squarely between the eyes. The sudden impact staggered Pudge, letting Fenrir break free. Without that timely shot, even the life chain might have failed him. That shot from Aisha did far more than just rescue him. After it hit, the bullet shattered into a biting frost, completely blanketing Pudge. This icy effect slowed speed by 25%, forcing a constitution check every 10 seconds. Failure meant a 2-second freeze, though the slow amount and freeze time depended entirely on the target's strength. Pudge's speed fell dramatically. After that narrow escape, Fenrir became far more cautious, no longer rushing in, choosing to circle and distract the beast while Aisha prepped her main assault. Pudge possessed immense power, but its mind was incredibly slow. It completely ignored Aisha, whose deadly aura was flaring in the distance. To chase Fenrir instead, with its movement so heavily reduced, Pudge just couldn't catch the fast wolf. Enraged, Pudge released toxic gas from its belly, erupting from the thick suture lines to blanket a full 5 meters around its body. Pudge could move with this foul cloud. Trapped inside, Fenrir's speed dropped sharply. Suddenly, with a metallic clatter, a heavy iron chain whipped straight toward Fenrir. The timing was perfect, the speed terrifying. The beast had no time to dodge. The massive iron links wrapped tightly around his waist. Squeezing hard, with a violent yank of Pudge's arm, Fenrir was pulled right in front of its chest. Standing at 1.5 meters tall, the wolf looked as small as a helpless puppy next to Pudge. The icy wind from the falling cleaver was intense, reaching even the master at the entrance, but he wasn't worried. Fenrir wasn't. Defenseless, quickly shifting his stance the second the tight chain relaxed. With his self-healing ability and aggressive brawling style, Fenrir knew exactly where to take the impact. He needed to test Pudge's power, so taking some damage was necessary. Luckily, Life Chain kept them safe. Huge room for error. Then the heavy cleaver struck. Golden chains flashed as the cleaver bit into bone. Instantly, the master's vitality drained. He quickly glanced at Fenrir, shaken but standing. His combat power remained intact. The life chain had shared the heavy damage across the entire team. Seeing Pudge's powerful strike fail to end him, Fenrir regained his composure, circling the monster to land quick counterattacks when Pudge struck him. With that heavy weapon, his counterattack felt completely different from his initial strike to the head, suggesting Pudge had activated its active flesh accumulation defense. By then, Aisha's second shot was fully charged. The armor-piercing bullet fired, completely ignoring armor defenses to deal full damage. This time, she aimed at the human head. On its abdomen, that head's bone magic was far too dangerous and needed to be eliminated first. The shot was incredibly fast, making it impossible to dodge, but Pudge's instincts were sharp. The moment she fired, a red light flashed across its massive body as it triggered its defensive flesh wall. Again, the head on its stomach instantly became a bloody ruin, white bone fragments falling to the ground. Roaring in absolute fury, Pudge threw its iron chain again, targeting Aisha in the distance. She sensed the incoming strike and dodged instantly. Without any surprise elements, that heavy chain was incredibly difficult to land. Of course, had it targeted the summoner, he wouldn't have survived. The difference in their power was just too massive. By now, Pudge's skills had. Every trick was spent, its patterns fully mapped, yet even so, bringing it down remained incredibly tough. The twin bullet wounds on its flesh were already visibly closing up. What would easily kill other beasts was minor to Pudge. Its heads were not even vital. This massive body and terrifying regeneration made it practically immortal. Go, he commanded, drawing his bow and knocking an arrow. But the star of this showdown was always going to be Martin, the one wielding holy light. As his arrow struck Pudge's flesh, a holy beam erupted from the heavens, completely swallowing Pudge's mountain of rotting meat. Dark fog rolled, carrying agonizing screams, echoing everywhere. Once the divine light faded, the poisonous mist around Pudge thinned and its bloated frame visibly withered. True, the attack did not trigger the instant kill miracle of true believers, but the devastating damage from this single holy spell easily surpassed the combined efforts of Aisha and Fenrir. Best of all, Martin's divine magic had no cooldown. One holy bolt after another crashed down. The deadly fog quickly evaporated, leaving its body horribly pockmarked. Dark smoke billowed from its wounds, signaling severe, heavy damage. After firing 5 holy spells in a row, Martin closed his sacred tome and paused. The young man asked why he stopped. Martin's serene smile remained unchanged. He was out of mana. The hunter stood frozen, then remembered that Martin's rapid-fire casting had made him totally forget. His ally was still just a level 1 elite. Even with epic gear, a hero's base was still low. He noted the stitched monster's regeneration was now temporarily suppressed, leaving the rest to him. With that, Martin closed his book and exited the battlefield. A dry mage was completely useless. After all those heavy strikes on Pudge, it was smart to evade its direct counterattacks. Life Chain could divide incoming damage, but pain was entirely personal, unleashing heaven's grace for a 5th shot. The monster's colossal, mountain-like body wobbled violently and crashed down. System alerts immediately flashed. Stitched monster Pudge, level 15, was slain. 500 experience earned, reaching level 4. Fenrir also leveled up. Martin leveled twice, having carried the fight and nearly catching up to his level. Stowing his bow, he approached Pudge's massive carcass. Even dead, its sheer bulk felt incredibly oppressive. High risk means high reward, so what kind of legendary loot would this monster drop? 3 glowing, multicolored orbs lay scattered around the body. He collected them to inspect their details. The first was a book-shaped, flesh-like tome, a purple-grade, transcendent skill book, granting flesh accumulation. The requirements were steep, requiring over 50 constitution, a recovery talent, or basic constitution above 10. A warning noted that forcing it could mutate the user horribly. Its passive ability allowed the user to absorb slain beasts' flesh essence, boosting all stats except spirit once per day. Its active skill, Wall of Flesh, conjured an organic barrier, blocking absolute damage from every single source. Its shield strength scaled with constitution, lasting 3 seconds on a 10-second cooldown. Pudge was truly a generous soul. He never expected the monster's signature ability to be the very first drop. This skill grew limitlessly, paired with a defensive shield that negated everything, even supreme true damage that completely ignored armor and magic resistance. Earlier, when Aisha's powerful armor-piercing round struck the beast's barrier, even that had been weakened. He bypassed the book and moved on to Pudge's hook, a special weapon. An offhand weapon requiring strength above 20. It grants a skill to throw a chain, entangling and dragging targets right to him. A warning note says to mind the strength difference or get dragged over instead. The third item was a thick book with bold letters reading necromancy essentials on stitched monsters. Reading it required a high spirit attribute, at least over 10. 12 hours of reading offered a mere chance to comprehend the craft. He was stunned. This truly was a book meant to be read cover to cover. It required deep understanding and a foundation, with no system shortcuts allowed. Absolutely nobody in his group was capable of reading it anyway. Silently, he packed it away, already planning to mutate the book tomorrow. With the beast dead, silence returned, broken only by the holy light stone's steady glow. Curious about the bright stone, he asked Martin about its purpose, who eagerly explained everything. The holy water gained purifying and healing power by soaking in it. Additionally, socketing this stone directly into weapons or armor would imbue them with immense holy power. Those were its main uses, so he asked if they could take it early. Specifically, could they remove it without accidentally opening the rift prematurely? Martin's smile froze, but he admitted it was possible with a holy expert. They must take its place and suppress the rift around the clock. He immediately dismissed that impractical idea without a single second thought. Only 3 or 4 days remained, and Martin was too valuable to waste babysitting. With the dark underground space fully cleared, more than half of the day was already gone. He ordered his exhausted team back to their territory for some much-needed rest. But right before he could step away, a sudden thought about the dead believers stopped him. They were human and unharvestable, but the stitched monster was different. He rushed back and placed his hand on the cold, grotesque flesh of the dead monster. The body was harvestable, so he chose to harvest it. The massive body immediately dissolved into white light, leaving behind a glowing, excellent blue item. It was a stitched monster's soul essence, pulsing with excellent grade power. He could use it to breed more stitched monsters or purify it into something better. He could purify it to easily upgrade the potential of his low-ranking units. Talk about a close call, those distracting light orbs almost hid this prize. This meant his painstakingly cultivated subjects would never fall behind. His early investments and tireless efforts would absolutely not go to waste, so he turned to Martin. He asked if the priest could purify it, having no interest in creating monsters. Who knew how long he would wait for someone capable of reading that book? Besides, his peaceful territory was blessed by holy light, with no room for such dark magic. Unfortunately, Martin explained that his holy light clashed heavily with the dark soul essence. Trying to cleanse the dark essence now would inevitably destroy its unique powers and ruin it. But currently meant it was possible later, perhaps once Martin reached level 30. Astonished by his vast knowledge, he praised the priest and asked for other alternative methods. Martin pondered, then suggested placing the essence inside the sacred moon well. The power of the moon goddess would purify it, which absolutely delighted him. A completely casual question had actually led them directly to this perfect, highly unexpected solution. He led everyone out and sealed the mural shut, keeping any monsters from escaping. He had arrived early, but it cost him a precious, extraordinary gem. Absolutely nothing could go wrong in these 92 hours. Fortunately, the trip back was uneventful. By 1, they were already back in the territory, enjoying a warm bonfire. With 3.5 hours left before dark, the smell of meat drifted out. He laid out the spoils, planning the distribution to make the best use of everything. After all, giving to his villagers was basically like using it himself, none of these items. On the ground were his own. Flesh accumulation went straight to Fenrir first. He wanted it, an infinitely growing lifesaver. But it would take way too long to meet the conditions, breaking his rules, besides him only. Fenrir and Martin met the requirements, and besides, what life-saving skill did a backline holy priest even need? Fenrir's self-healing matched perfectly. The beastman thanked him fanatically, overjoyed to master an extraordinary grade skill in his lifetime. The system reported his loyalty shot up to 99, marked as die-hard, with the note that die-hard subordinates would never betray him and would regard his commands above all else. This prompt made him curious what 100 loyalty looked like. Aisha showed no apparent difference, while Martin at 65 was already obedient, so he dropped the matter. Pudge's hook went to Fenrir too, even less controversial, and he was excited. Beyond reason, in his eyes, he had contributed the least but was getting most of the gains. Like a carried teammate voted MVP, he told his lord he did not deserve it, but the lord urged him to take it for the territory's development. He swore everything to his lord and the territory. Looking over at Martin, he knew the priest played the biggest role, although a powerhouse like him might not care. For spoils, the formalities still had to be observed, as he drafted speeches in his head. The signs of manipulation and grand promises felt too obvious. After all, Martin was a holy priest who could easily outplay him in the game of faith, so he discarded the script and simply told him that everything was thanks to his efforts. Martin thanked him for the praise, then asked to borrow the Stitched Monsters book. Intrigued by the request, he handed over the grimoire with a strange look. As an evil aura poured off it, the priest claimed he knew it was the necromancy essentials and took it directly. The Lord warned him not to purify but since he still had a use for it, quickly adding that Martin did not need to worry. He would never study evil power, but Martin told him he was mistaken, arguing power made no distinction between good and evil, and that he was simply curious to take a look. Hearing that from a holy priest felt pretty odd, but he relaxed. He did not want a fanatic in his territory purifying everything in sight, Speaking of purification, though. He almost forgot. Heading over to a moon well, he drew the soul essence and sank it to the bottom. There was no reaction, but the well's mystical properties only appeared at night, and Martin had warned that elemental conflicts take time. Next, he went to the dining hall to eat. While chewing tiger meat, his mind wandered to the map he took from the black-robed believer. He had assumed it would closely resemble the gray-robed map at best, acting as an integrated version, but one look absolutely shocked him. This was no surface map. All the marked areas were subterranean, charting a massive underground network of the entire region. He even located the iron mine he had occupied on day 2. If this map was accurate, his mine might not be so simple. Right next to it on the map was another cavern labeled Mana Stone Mine. Talk about a game changer. With this, his portable heat sources could finally show their worth. He quickly wolfed down lunch and he set off again with the 3, having traveled this mining road many times before. He knew the route well. Soon they arrived, and he signaled everyone to fan out and search for any hidden entrances to the underground. After a full half hour, all 3 reported back. They found no other entrance. The only way down was through the mine he had already occupied. Puzzled, he suddenly thought of the believers' gathering place. That had been a hidden world too. Could his mine hold another secret? Back at the familiar mine, he shared his guess, calling Jam and Gaul over as well. They had been mining here for 2 days and knew the layout best, so he asked if they noticed anything unusual. He did not expect much. If there was anything serious, he would have known already. Sam stammered that he found some strange things while mining that morning. Seeing his leader's displeasure, he quickly added that he planned to report it tonight upon their return. With no intention of hiding it, he warned him never to do it again, adding that in abnormal situations, they must report immediately. Then he ordered him to lead the way. Time was short, so he recalled the scattered mercenary group and followed Sam deeper. They reached an abandoned tunnel, its end blocked by rubble. Gam claimed he once heard a strange sound from the other side, scaring him to death. The leader waved him back to work, and at his signal, Fenrir stepped forward. After confirming it, the tunnel indeed connected to another. Som returned with Jesso swinging their pickaxes and sweating heavily. As the next strike landed, a cold wind blew from the other side. A system warning flashed, mentioning the newbie protection. Prompt, he was about to enter a dangerous zone in the Manstone mine, occupied by 2 major underground races, and entering meant he would be attacked by both factions. The system suggested challenge level 15 for this dangerous area. He weighed the options. Compared to the Believer's gathering place, this challenge level was meant for clearing the entire zone, not the level of each individual creature inside. The passive stitched monsters likely did not count toward this 5 level jump, which was a qualitative leap from tier 0 to tier 1. Those stitched monsters proved their bullets were spent, and Fenrir's ultimate had already been used. Their combat power was weakened, and their gains were not fully digested yet. Only Martin was in peak condition, but he had no idea if these underground races were undead. Still, the map showed this mine was much larger than the Believer's gathering place. Fully exploring it today was impossible. With no risk of meeting the strongest monsters, he decided to explore the periphery, clearing out weaker monsters to test the waters first. He waved. Fenrir, acting as their tank, was first through the gap. His voice echoed back, reporting no danger. The leader stepped in with Aisha and Martin. The mine had been abandoned for ages, dim except for light spilling from the tunnel behind them. He called to Martin, who summoned a hovering ball of light with his illumination magic. Fenrir had night vision and quickly spotted something on the wall. It was a simple mana mining lamp, powered by 1 mana stone that usually lasted for 3 months, abandoned for at least 3 months, according to the description. He approached and touched the core inside the lamp, watching it turn into dust. He immediately took back his words. This iron was far older than 3 months, at least 30 years. After recruiting Martin, he had asked about mana stones. Depleted ones did not crumble like this. This was the crushing weight of time, shown in the light confirmed it. Debris lay scattered all over the mine floor, rails, minecarts and mana stones. The carts were dilapidated, lined up in rows. A few dust-covered mana stones sat around them. Only the tracks featured mysterious, glowing patterns that resisted the erosion of time. Seeing this, he packed the broken minecarts into his inventory, planning to repair them with iron. Intact carts were incredibly useful. He did not expect an automated rail network But even manual labor pushing stone-loaded carts would get the job done. Immediately, he ordered his team to gather the scattered carts and mana stones. After a quick count, the harvest was looking great. Just picking up trash yielded 11 mana stones in 7 damaged carts. The rails were firmly embedded, however. Once the mine was fully cleared, those tracks would become extremely valuable. Time to push forward, and trust me, they had plenty of paths ahead. The cavern connected to 8 tunnels, and he chose one randomly. Fenrir took the lead. To avoid getting lost, the Shadow Wolf marked their path along the way. Moving deeper, a quiet rustling sound echoed from up ahead. Dungeon Rat Demon. Fenrir shared a mental link with his Shadow Wolf, allowing them to close in. The culprits were 2 upright creatures with hideous rat heads. They looked like massive, mutated rodents walking upright on 2 legs. Standing under a meter tall, their thin limbs were built for narrow shafts. Their foul stench filled the air. The moment the team drew close, the creatures bolted. Fenrir used his night vision and gave chase. He returned shortly with 2 corpses, proud he had not failed. No loot prompt appeared. He wondered if the system blocked humanoid harvesting. It made sense for somewhat intelligent creatures. As Fenrir tossed the bodies, a mana stone rolled out. It had clear teeth marks on it. This was absolute war. Those pests were literally eating his future wealth. They were ruining his private property. He ordered the team to move faster. He could only imagine how many more were destroying this massive mine. They picked up the pace, staying grouped to ensure everyone remained safe. Isha quickly killed a level 4 rat, earning 10 experience points. Fenrir took down a level 6 creature. Both hit level 7. By 4 p.m. he formulated a plan. It was time to head back to the iron mine. He gathered the squad to clear the area, planning to return tomorrow. They walked away with 41 mana stones. The rat demons they had fought were levels 4 through 8. This was easy, partly because his map let him avoid dangerous main shafts. Following the Shadow Wolf, the group headed back. As almost safe as they neared the mine, he finally relaxed. Only rat demons had appeared, but another dangerous race lurked in the dark. Suddenly, a chilling howl. Oh, things just got real, he cursed silently. Their vanguard had been ambushed despite being in stealth mode, instantly detected. Just yesterday, the wolf walked right past a level 10 monster undetected. Now Fenrir stood beside him with a grim look. He warned his lord that this enemy was on another level. He had completely lost contact with his shadow beast. There was no avoiding this. They had to fight, unless they wanted to spend a terrifying night trapped in the mine. Bypassing the final shaft, they made their way back to the first mine, only to find the room empty, except for a disemboweled shadow wolf. It lay in a pool of blood, making his heart sink as he wondered if it escaped. He shifted his steps slightly closer to Aisha, catching a faint hint of her sweet scent. The tension in his back faded, calming his racing heart as he analyzed the hidden threat. Since he could easily sense its murderous intent, the creature could not be that strong. There was nothing to fear. Knowing they could not drag this out, he signaled Fenrir. The beast companion understood, slowing down to trail a few meters behind them. Meanwhile, the unseen stalker waited patiently in the dark as they continued moving forward. As Aisha, Martin, and the young lord stepped back into the original iron mine, the hidden hunter finally struck. The ground shattered as sharp stone spikes erupted. The stone blades shot upward, leaving Fenrir with absolutely zero time to react. He was launched violently into the air as a massive, scarab-like monster emerged. Spiky bone spurs covered its joints as it lunged, slashing its powerful front limbs. Since they had intentionally acted as bait to draw it out, they were prepared. Fenrir activated his brand-new flesh wall skill to shield himself. He tanked the rock spikes safely, keeping enough strength while airborne. This allowed him to shield his vital areas, and as he crashed heavily to earth, Aisha unleashed her attack. Her arrow carried the devastating force of a 3-second charge, piercing the dust to strike the beetle's compound eye. The young lord was weaponless, forced to observe from the sidelines, but he remained calm. This monster was only a level 10 elite, built for stealth assassinations rather than sustained combat. It was a level 10 insectoid elite dungeon beetle. Stats showed 19 strength, 34 agility, 29 constitution, and 25 spirit. Its passive talent could detect any hidden targets within a 3-meter radius. For skills, it possessed Earth Spike, Retaliation, and Burrow, which let it summon rock spikes to stun targets. Retaliation let it enter stealth. boosting its movement speed and doubling its next devastating sneak attack. Finally, Burrow let it retreat underground to rapidly restore its health. Stopping its escape was critical. With stealth and Burrow, it was incredibly mobile. Beyond losing precious loot, its abilities posed a fatal threat to their miners. Their entire territorial growth would stall, meaning this dungeon beetle had to die. Right now, Fenrir sprang up instantly, letting out a ferocious howl. That triggered his wolf howl skill before charging the spiky beetle head-on. While Fenrir kept it busy, Aisha safely drew her bow. 1 second, 2, 3. Sensing her rising intent, the beetle shoved Fenrir away and slammed its limbs down. Earth spiked, but Fenrir was not its target, as the stone spikes shot straight toward Aisha. Just as the attack threatened to launch her, she shifted, her feet dodging cleanly, yet a gleam of triumph lit the beetle's compound eyes. Her evasion did not matter, because the beast only wanted that brief distraction. Its limbs dug frantically, but as it prepared to burrow away, an arrow flew. Using her moving shot ability, Aisha unleashed a massive 4-second charged strike. The devastating arrow tore straight into its skull, spraying dark green blood. Even with that damage, its extreme vitality kept the beast swaying. It tried to submerge. He was helpless, Aisha too far and Martin indifferent. Fenrir puts his back into it, shooting the grappling hook from his right arm. It snags the giant beetle. Heavily wounded, the beast is completely helpless. Dragged close, his left claw drives deep into its head to crush the brain. Beetle defeated, level 10 down, 50 experience earned as the Lord sighs in relief. It almost escaped. With only 11 minutes left before nightfall, he runs over. There are no glowing loot drops here, just raw materials to harvest. Time is tight. He grabs 2 spiky limbs, 6 eggs, carapace, and 18 meat. Shoving everything into his pack, he quickly blocks the dark passage. He seals off the path between the mines and rushes back toward territory. It is 5:06 in the evening, minus 57 degrees, with the world tree ahead. His very first time outside after nightfall. Once the sun sets, temperatures plunge. In just 5 or 6 minutes, it dropped. It hit minus 58. Luckily, his warm tiger coat and level ups save him. And with Martin's holy light protection, he barely avoids freezing into an ice pop. Even the cold-hardy polar people cannot handle this brutal freeze after dark. They are already shivering, though Fenrir can last a little longer. He has 10 minutes left, but Aisha is already freezing up. Frost coats her eyelashes as she shivers, though Martin remains fine. His protective robe blocks the chill, but night hunting is too extreme. Even a portable heater would not save them from minus 60 degrees. He needs levels first. A stronger physique makes weather trivial. Suddenly, shouting echoes through the dark. The Lord is back, they cheer, interrupting his thoughts as they approach. Outside, Gil and several polar people are waiting anxiously for him. They are the ones who dread losing him, since a good leader is rare. After tasting full meals and meat daily, they never want to starve again. Returning to safety, he wants nothing more than to jump into the bonfire. Spending 10 minutes huddled near the flames finally brings him back to life. While waiting for dinner, he inspects the beetle loot, starting with the eggs. They are excellent blue grade, meaning he can actually hatch a dungeon beetle. They must go underground with earth crystals to boost the hatching rate. Who wouldn't want a stealthy monster ally? This beast has great utility. Since insects mature rapidly, they will become instant forces in battle. He mutters that they are far better than his lazy tiger egg. That one still sits in the incubator without showing any signs of life. After 2 quiet days, he heads to the nursery to dig a hole. He buries the 6 insect eggs alongside a single earth elemental crystal. Time will tell which hatches first. Meanwhile, those limbs can craft daggers. But without high-level blueprints, making basic weapons would be a total waste. The carapace could become stealth gear once he finds a skilled blacksmith. He puts both in storage, planning to try the beetle meat tonight instead. He calls Gil over, handing him the meat to prepare an extra meal. Then he checks the market, where his listed moon well water remains popular. The first 5 portions listed for basic resources are already completely sold. He secures 195 wood and 97 stone after fees. Blueprints and rare items. People are frantically messaging him. He opens one up. What a coincidence, it is Han Jang. He is a total spam messaging machine. Han Jang is anxious. His messages come in a flurry, claiming the tiger meat was highly effective. He is totally lying. He asks if Gang Yu still has Moonspring water. It is precious, so why not raise the price? If Gang Yu wants to save face, Han Jang offers to play the bad guy instead. He offers to buy it at 360 wood, otherwise his own low-tier potions lose all value. Then he begs Gang Yu to stop ignoring him, desperate to make light healing potions. He claims his family is ruined. Gang Yu's cheap, effective water is completely destroying his business. He begs Gang Yu to raise prices, fully admitting defeat in their little market war. Gang Yu wonders why he is under so much pressure, why act like a total lunatic. To find out, he checks the market transaction history for the main crafting materials. Turns out Han Jang bought materials yesterday at a high average price. He paid an average of 300 wood, but sold his potions way too cheap. He sold 12 bottles at just 180 wood each. Seriously, the guy is basically doing charity. But did the market really saturate this fast? He had only listed a few units. There are nearly 10,000 lords, and these items are consumable. Unless there is a competitor out there, he searches the keyword healing in the market. Several pages pop up, just bandages everywhere. Now he finally gets it. Bandages combined with Moonspring water locked prices down. His potion sits right in the middle. It is quick on minor injuries, but only slightly helps severe ones. Severely injured people buy Moonspring water. Minor injuries just need bandages. Serve the guy right. Gang Yu switches to private chat and tells him to call him Daddy. Han Jang replies instantly, "Daddy, hey, good evening, from your obedient son." He asks where the Moonspring water comes from and how much is left. Can he afford to buy it all? Gang Yu tells him he is too late. It is completely gone. In his mind, Gang Yu adds that only today's batch is gone. Han Jang claims he does not believe it, but still looks forward to future deals. Han Jang immediately updates his listings, raising the price of his 3 bottles. He raises it from 90 stone and 30 iron to 130 stone and 50 iron. He tells himself it does not matter if it is true, it is just a sign of respect. That was Han Jang's move. Now it is Gang Yu's turn as night falls. Lords are idle now, making them extremely sensitive to sudden market shifts. People call Han Jang a greedy merchant for raising prices, hoping Gang Yu posts tomorrow. What if Gang Yu lists nothing tomorrow? Does Han Jang have inside info? Everyone pleads for Gang Yu to confirm if he will sell more water tomorrow. Han Jang watches the chat and smiles, then buys a single stone from the market. He pays 100 wood for it, having hired someone to orchestrate this entire panic. If Gang Yu ignores it, Han Jang's potions sell high. If he responds, his stock is exposed. Either way, Han Jang wins. Gang Yu has no clue about these schemes. Instead, he is happily browsing blueprints, finding a recipe for spicy rabbit. It is a common tier recipe, recommended for anyone with decent cooking skills. The actual effect depends on ingredients and skill, requiring rabbit meat and various spices. Ingredients like chili, Sichuan peppercorns, ginger, sugar, and clear water are needed. Rabbit meat and chili are absolute must-haves. After eating the dish, the player. Clear water with rabbit meat and chili is essential, making a dish that. +1 constitution and temporary cold resistance, not bad at all. Spicy food to survive the freeze. He also got an iron arrow blueprint. This formula was great, even though his primary bow was already advanced. Firing invisible arrows, selling crafted ammo was far more profitable. But the real treasure was a very expensive magic book. An excellent grade explosive fireball spell, requiring 10 spirit stats. Charging for 3 seconds unleashes a devastating, explosive blast. The target burns for 5 seconds, taking 20% extra damage. With a 50 mana cost, it was tough for weak lords to use. To get it, he had to trade Moonspring water and a tiger egg. It was a fair deal. The seller walked away happy with the resources. For him, 5 units took only hours to produce, plus Aisha warned him. The tiger egg was incredibly weak, only good for a minor pet or food. A massive win. He learned the spell instantly without any risky delay. No unstable mutations today. Now, he just needed 10 spirit points. His stats hit 10.04 right after leveling up. He learned the explosive fireball skill, leaving 2 slots free. Time to test things. Could he trigger a combo? He needed hard proof, so he gripped his basic white grade staff. The explosive fireball spell glowed, steadily draining his inner energy. A scorching heat condensed right at the tip of the weapon. Suddenly, a ghostly phantom materialized right beside him, raising a staff too. 3 seconds later, 2 basketball-sized fireballs crackled to life. They shot forward lazily. He honestly doubted if they would hit anything. But the very next second, they detonated violently in midair. The sheer scale of this blast is wild. Even 30 meters away, he felt it. The snow melted instantly, sending thick steam and dirt flying. He immediately took back his doubts. The spell fully lived up to its name. A 10-meter kill zone, easily. This devastating force left him with mixed feelings. Combo spells worked perfectly, but having this much destructive power was alarming. If a basic spell was this strong, what about advanced ones? Would a single massive blast end up wiping out his own army alongside the enemy? He decided to ask the native mages and called out to Martin. Martin pondered, explaining that this involved a concept called skill mastery. He explained that skill books only grant rigid, pre-programmed abilities. The fireball he just cast required a strict, unskippable chant. He had zero control over the range, power, or cooldown. A caster only chose when and where to attack. Then Martin paused. A dazzling holy light formed a sword and slashed right at him. He felt only a slight warmth. True masters controlled their power. They can use abilities freely without ever hurting their allies. This incredible explanation was eye-opening, revealing a brand new path to power. He asked if passives like Fenrir's physical growth had mastery too. Martin agreed, though he was unsure what fully mastered growth would yield. However, he speculated a literal wall of flesh might be possible. In gamer terms, it meant partial protection, less energy loss, and boosted local strength. You're talking increased defense, shorter cooldowns, longer durations, and total manual control. But the main question he cared about was how to truly master a skill. Martin had a draft ready, but this was a tier only true heroes accessed. Even Martin was just starting. For now, he had to use the brute force way, constant practice. The skill book had already engraved the exact essence of this magic onto his soul. He understood the simple concept of practice. He had plenty of time, and the night was perfect. Groundwork first. He checked his mana, 151 of 200. Several minutes after casting, he had only recovered a single point. This natural rate was just too slow. He searched the market for mana gear, empty, better to craft than to buy. So he updated the description on his listed Moonspring water, searching for rare blueprints, materials, and items. He urgently needed potion recipes or gear that recovered mana. Mage skill books were also on the table. Pure confidence from holding a dominant market position. While eating his meal, he opened the trade interface again to acquire basic resources. He had plenty of mana stones, but crafting portable heaters required primary fire elemental crystals, and hatching dungeon beetles needed primary earth crystals, likely quite a few. So he stocked up, trading 5 iron for 1 primary fire crystal, paying a 2 wood fee, then traded 120 wood for another crystal, paying 6 wood. After several swift trades, his fire crystals reached 28, and his earth crystals hit 16. Talk about a complete monopoly. He basically bought out every single crystal on the market. Enough for now. Closing the trade menu, he headed over to his crafting table to start making some portable heaters. With a quick flash of light, the materials vanished. Crafting was in progress, starting an 11-minute 58-second countdown. It cost 3 iron, 1 mana stone, and 1 primary fire crystal to get 1 portable heater. He examined the device, marveling at how much it resembled an Iron Man reactor. The system really was incredible, with red patterns wrapping around a central black mana stone. He clicked it on and instant warmth flooded his entire body, even moving around. Did not shake it loose, extremely comfortable. He turned it off, noting it consumed 1 mana stone daily. He decided to craft 3 more at 12 minutes each. The polar locals could wait as he needed to practice his skills tonight. An hour later, he had 4 finished heaters, leaving him with 1 spare. He messaged Tan Chungu directly through private chat, asking him to list any wood. Tan was on the public channel. Saw the message and complied. A trade prompt asked to swap 1 portable heater and 3 mana stones for just 1 wood. Tan was stunned. He already had mana stones. Tan Chungu was deeply shocked. In one day, Gang Yu had obtained something he had never even heard of and was giving it away. He declined, saying he was not worthy of such generosity, but Gang Yu insisted. This would greatly expand Tan's exploration. And if he found any unwanted blueprints later, he could just pay him back. Tan thanked his generous brother, accepting the gift. The trade went through. Gang Yu lost 1 heater and 3 mana stones, gaining 1 wood while paying a 15 wood handling fee. It was surprisingly high, likely a system restriction to prevent top players from Helping the weak too much, he began organizing his work. Tomorrow's warmth was secure. His territory expanded nicely after upgrading the level 3 bonfire. Today's resources were tallied. With trades handled, he remembers the dungeon beetle and returns to the nursery. He digs up the incubation spot to place 5 primary earth elemental crystals. 6 eggs and 6 crystals make perfect sense. Then his eyes find the constant temperature box. If this shadow tiger does not hatch soon, it might just remain a kitten. He taps the box, warning the beast inside that he might stew it if it stays hidden. He laughs at his own threat. Ready for a long night, he heads to the world tree, picking every single ice crystal fruit before leaving. A long night of training needs prep. Entering World Tree Room 000, he finds Aisha already training hard. She stops and bows deeply. He is curious since he did not actually summon her. She explains she also heard Martin's talk on skill proficiency. Determination shines in her eyes, carrying words left unsaid. She was his first warrior, but in just 2 days her lord has gained 2 more, and even Fenrir, who started out weaker, has now surpassed her, as Silver Moon Elf royalty. She has her pride. She cannot let herself fall behind his rapid pace. Storm energy infuses her body, pushing her speed to the limit with wind step. Moving fast, she draws her bow and notches an arrow, holding it without firing. Practicing charge shot diligently, just as Martin advised. Room 000 is massive with plenty of space. She is dedicated and he is happy to let her train. He watches for a bit before starting his own practice. A few explosive fireballs only leave him exhausted, but he is not discouraged. Mastery takes time, and he is only level 4 with 10 spirit. Experience will build up over time, with his mana completely drained. He sits cross-legged, admiring the beauty nearby. He is glad Aisha is here. Otherwise, waiting for mana recovery would be pure torture. Cast, wait, repeat. After dozens of tries, dizziness hits from sheer mental exhaustion. Casting drains both mana and mental focus, even with system assistance guiding his aim. Doing this repeatedly takes a toll. Aisha, however, is still full of energy. Even though her coat is off and she is dripping with sweat, training is tough. He tells her to rest early, says goodnight, and heads back to his room. Sleep does not come easily, as his mind races about tomorrow's mutation. The Mana Stone Mine and the hatching beasts, at dawn on day 4. Sudden system announcement wakes him, since all surviving lords have completed a kill. The territory ranking is officially active. This regional leaderboard will settle the moment novice protection ends. Territory status evaluates population, resources, buildings, and total combat. Power rewards for 4th through 10th place include a Tier 1 scroll, a green Tier 1 recruitment scroll, building blueprint, and a green weapon. Gift box 2nd and 3rd place get blue rewards, while 1st gets purple. He checks the live leaderboard. Gang Yu has 191,000. 2nd is Hanjong, 3rd is Bojihayan. Talk about an absolute beatdown. He does not even look further since his world tree has insane growth. Potential here, as long as he stays alive. 1st place is already firmly his. The regional chat erupts in pure shock, with Ko Yang-su telling everyone to look at 1st place. Another user, Tong Jinwoo, calls it outrageous, complaining he only has 32. Others can only quote his score in disbelief. After reading a poetic line about gazing at the moon, Kyung-du admitted he had not seen anyone stronger. Tong Jing-yo remarked that the world was overflowing with countless heroes, like fish crossing a river, and the world channel still had 4-digit and 5-digit territories. Gang Jin-woo complained that users on the world channel refused to believe them, claiming they were lying, but he ignored the noisy chat drama. He was already by the bonfire starting the day's mutations. The first item, a militia training manual, triggered his unstable mutation. The manual underwent a powerful positive transformation. Soon, his basic militia manual mutated into beginner elemental spell insight. Today's positive count was 0, but the unstable count reached 2. His first reaction was sheer speechlessness rather than joy. Could he even understand or use this, even though he could freely cast explosive fireball? That was entirely because of a skill book. He hoped this was different, so he checked the spell's details, revealing a purple transcendent consumable. It recorded a legendary expert's research on several low-level spells, including fireball, explosive fireball, and chain fireball. Upon use, it randomly optimized the model of one beginner spell. The item description noted that with a fireball in Hand, the world is yours. What kind of mage cannot cast a simple fireball? This action stirred a storm in Martin. What kind of ability could alter an item's essence? He noticed his casual attitude and how accustomed Aisha and Fenrir were, proving the Lord's special ability had been shown before, not just once. His perpetually smiling face stiffened, and Martin's loyalty climbed up. To 68, he ignored this, since the reason he mutated items in front of subordinates was to show off. He used the insight immediately, which became an array of light and entered his body, consuming the basic insight. His explosive fireball was optimized. Charging time fell to 2 seconds with damage rising to 280%. Cooldowns and mana costs dropped significantly, showing the power of legendary insight. His unstable mutation activated on an ice crystal fruit, triggering a random change. His ice crystal fruit began mutating directly into an ice crystal fruit tree. Today's positive count was 1, a massive rejuvenation. Like an egg becoming an egg-laying chicken, he stored the sapling away, deeply satisfied. Yesterday, his territory's food consumption had drained nearly 30 meat. Plans had to change, and so did his target. Another unstable mutation began, randomly changing another ice crystal fruit. The fruit mutated into an ice element crystal, keeping today's positive count at unstable 0. Mutating into the same item had an incredibly low probability, though he still considered focusing on ice crystal fruits for future mutations. Feeling cheerful, he began his final preparations. The nursery soon received the new ice crystal fruit tree. Overnight, water from the 5 moon wells was collected and listed, leaving 2 polar guards to protect the rest with him. Today they would clear the Mana Stone Mine. His newly listed Moonspring water sparked a wild wave in the chat, motivating other lords to climb the leaderboard. Tang Jinwu announced that Gang Shin had listed the Moonspring water. He cursed the rumors, claiming the lord was out, which forced him to buy overpriced, broken potions. Hanmo cheered that with this magical water he could. After finally slaying the snowwolf near his territory, Xiao Jiang envied his older brother. He was always a step ahead, likely recouping his Moonspring water investment on the rankings. Zhu Gang mocked them as fools who happily count their sellers' money. Xiao Jiang asked for clarification, and Zhu Gang answered. He bragged that his territory score was far ahead because the entire area supported him. Henmo asked where the clown came from, and Xiao Jiang shot back. He noted that every area has a first place, asking if Zhu Gang dared compare. Even without our protagonist, they had Han Jiang, whose potion prices Zhu Gang could never afford. Han Jiang, who was spectating, felt speechless to find himself as the topic, silently digesting the news that our hero would keep producing Moonspring water, making others give up competing and bravely strive for second instead. Wondering who would dare confront our hero, as heavily roasted Zhu Gang looked incredibly grim. As the protagonist's old university classmate, he had held a grudge ever since their bitter falling out. After graduation, he secretly kept tabs on him, constantly fearing he might do better. After transmigration, he was shocked by his success, confirming they were indeed the same person. Once the leaderboard dropped, his mind completely broke, leaving him desperate to ruin him. He immediately posted an analysis, claiming the Moonspring water came from a rare elven building. With 3 days of rising listings, he speculated our hero inherited an elven territory. He urged everyone to hunt down his territory, kill him, and seize it all. He argued that while his rating was high, his actual strength was just unfulfilled potential. Han Haiyang pointed out the newbie protection period, calling the jealous rival a total clown. Xiao Jiang reminded him of the Blue Tiger meat sales, asking if he lost his mind. Hanmo joked that by the time protection ended, our hero would be incredibly strong. He hoped for mercy, while Tong Jinwu declared he would gladly give up his lord status just to farm in his territory, reactions that were actually within Zhu Gang's expectations. He never expected anyone to actually raid the territory anyway. His only goal was to cause petty drama and annoy our hero as much as possible. He planned to spam the world chat daily, but our hero had already reached the mine. He instructed Gil to lead his men and start mining the iron ore first. Once the monsters inside were cleared out, they could head deeper into mine. He reminded them to keep the bonfire lit before leading Aisha and the others inside. Entering the passage, they found the tunnel previously dug by the dungeon beetle still intact. Surprisingly, the shadow wolf corpse was gone, leaving only smeared streaks of blood behind. Frowning slightly, he wondered if another beast dragged it off, but but quickly brushed it aside. They were clearing the mine today regardless, so with Fenrir leading, they pushed deeper. The path stayed clear until reaching yesterday's unexplored boundary, where a fork appeared. Long, dim tunnels stretched ahead, prompting Fenrir to halt and wait for his command. Our hero asked if his shadow wolf companion had been successfully resummoned yet. Fenrir nodded in understanding, letting out a sharp howl to summon 2 shadow wolves. The beasts dashed into separate tunnels, and moments later, Fenrir delivered his report. The left route was a dead end, while the right path likely led to the beetle's lair. Unfortunately, the scouts sent down that right path met a brutal end once again. With deep rage, the proud werewolf explained that he viewed those beasts as true companions. Now some vile creature had brutally murdered his loyal ally once again. The wolves he summoned as loyal companions, which someone had now cruelly slaughtered. Companions, damned dungeon beetles, he had completely overlooked that it was. The lord who sent them to scout and die, he had a premonition. The left path was not a dead end, but the right was clear. So they went right first, move out, hearing this, Fenrir eagerly squeezed in and the rest followed. The tunnel was narrow at first, just single person wide, but widened deeper inside. They could see scattered mine carts, discarded pickaxes and damaged tracks on both sides. With resources to collect, he would not let this chance pass. Before setting out, he had emptied his pack, keeping only moonspring water and emergency beetle meat. Plenty of space remained. He packed the minecarts, pickaxes, and oars. He obtained 2 broken minecarts and iron ore, 42 19 mana stones, 1 mithril ore, and 62 stone. He was pleased that this mine actually had mithril coexisting here. Mithril ore is a high-grade metal, adding some crafting equipment would improve its quality. Mithril, a high-grade metal, he exclaimed. Silently realizing he had made a huge profit, he wished he could clear this mine right now and start excavating immediately. Walking with Fenrir like this, he picked up about 7 waves of scattered resources, a rich harvest. Even the longest tunnel had an end, and Fenrir stopped. The space ahead became extremely wide, looking like a temporary gathering place with many other tunnels. Connecting to this spot, he increased his vigilance further. Dungeon beetles could be invisible, Lord Fenrir warned. His wolf companion had lost contact right ahead. Group continued forward. No more mine carts or tracks remained, only the ubiquitous tunnels dug by dungeon beetles. Constant danger, he became increasingly vigilant. Honestly, he would have stuck to Aisha like glue if he were not worried about her mobility. Soon they found their main target at the end of the cave, a dungeon beetle, twice as large as yesterday's, lying on the ground fast asleep. Traces of blood stained its mouth. A level 15 dungeon beetle, elite blue with excellent talent. Strength 66, agility 72, constitution 58, spirit 49, and digging skills. In a revenge spike shell that reflected 100% of the next incoming attack. Their approach was not quiet, but the beetle had dominated this mine for a long time and was extremely relaxed. It was not until Aisha raised Heaven's grace and began charging, and he started chanting explosive fireball that the beetle realized a madman had trespassed. The astonishing threat startled it from sleep, and pressure surged toward him. They ignored Spike Shell. Its greatest purpose was deterrence. Many people would hesitate, fearing the reflection, or try to bait its cooldown. Totally logical, but the beetle was no fool. If it never used it, they would waste their strongest skills to bait it. He saw the golden chains appearing on his body and decided to just go for it. The fireball went straight for the beetle, which lightly tapped its 6 legs. The fireball struck the wall behind it, missing, but bursting flames quickly enveloped the creature. The impact stirred up dust and debris, sending a heat wave across the area. At that moment, through the rising dust and obstructed vision, a rifle fired. The beetle sensed the threat. Unable to dodge, it decisively activated its spike shell. Dense, sharp barbs grew on its body, fully reflecting the next incoming attack. Hint of triumph filled its compound eyes. It grew impatient to see that elf exploding into a mist of blood. Soon, a faint burning followed. The fiery blast triggered the spike shell. A mournful insect cry echoed. His chest tightened. Aisha's heavy attack had hurt it badly, but the expected counter never came. As dust settled, the beetle had vanished, leaving only a pool of dark green blood. Was it invisible? He quickly scattered handful of revelation dust, a cheap counter item designed to coat hidden invisible enemies. They were prepared today after yesterday's encounters with the sneaky beast, but the magic dust only revealed a slender silhouette. A shadow wolf, his heart sank. There were only two possibilities now. Either the beetle fled, or the dust was completely useless against its stealth. Without that wolf reveal, he would have demanded a refund from the seller. This was trouble. Life chain had a limited duration, and being targeted by an invisible assassin was bad news. Fortunately, he had a trump card. Martin's advice from yesterday: dungeon beetles lived in devoted, inseparable pairs. No exceptions. He pulled 2 chunks of raw meat from his pack. Yesterday's beetle, talk about playing with fire, this instantly enraged the monster. A lethal blade struck from behind. The massive power difference was simply too huge for him to react. Even Aisha could only watch. Helplessly as the heavy foreleg slammed his back, a loud crash echoed. His golden shield shattered. Divine armor granted a barrier capable of blocking. A single strike, provided the impact did not exceed the force of a regular level 10 elite. It stood no chance against a level 15. Especially a vengeful strike carrying the rage of a dead mate. Divine armor only absorbed a fraction. The rest split among the other 3. Through the life chain, Fenrir and Martin held, but Aisha winced. He took the brunt of the impact, coughing up a mouthful of blood. The crushing force sent him flying several meters. He landed hard, spitting more blood. No time to look back. He rolled over and scrambled away. Pulling out moonspring water, he drank deeply. Instant sweet relief washed over him. The incredible healing properties quickly cut the agonizing pain in half. Aisha screamed a frantic warning. He looked up, his scalp tingling, wondering if this bug was playing with him. Did it seriously want him dead? He should have let Fenrir bait it. The beetle ignored everything, charging straight for him. No room to dodge, but without its stealth bonus, the shared damage from life chain would not be enough to kill. With Martin watching, he was safe. The beast had eyes only for him. As the monster lunged within reach, his mind grew completely calm. He even recalled an old gaming joke about the tank holding all the aggro. The beetle reared its forelimbs high and brought them down. Through its compound eyes, a heavy chain wrapped the enemy's waist, pulling him away. Shattered stone exploded as the lethal blow slammed harmlessly into the wall. Behind him, a barrage of arrows scraped the tough carapace. Aisha had yanked him to safety, deeply mortified that her lord was almost harmed. Fenrir released him at a safe distance and joined the fray. At this point, the battle was decided, leaving the beetle to struggle hopelessly. As Aisha fires the final bullet from Heaven's grace, he lands a direct hit with an explosive fireball. The giant beetle, struggling for nearly 10 minutes, was exhausted and collapses. When the system kill notification pops up, he lets out a long sigh. Although the beetle's vitality was not quite comparable to the stitched monster, it was pretty close. During that previous fight, Martin's holy light suppressed its healing, but here there is nothing. He has finally witnessed the absolute terror of first-order insectoid monsters. It feels like each one comes with Fenrir's self-healing. Absolutely outrageous. This beetle has 4 fist-sized bullet holes plus 2 more right in its head. Blood flows everywhere. Yet it stubbornly refused to fall. Feeling the sudden power boost, he opens the combat log. Sure enough, a level up. Slaying a level 15 dungeon beetle gained 500 experience points. His level hits 5, boosting attributes, while Martin's goes to 3. Putting away his staff, he crouches down to grab the glowing loot orbs. These are elite drops. Lesser monsters only provide harvestable materials. Humanoids require searching. As he checks each orb, a prompt reveals Insect Kiss, a spike shell skill book, 1 mana stone essence, and 3 basic earth crystals. 7. Then the corpse is harvested. A white light envelops it, yielding spiked forelimbs. 2. Compound eyes 2, essence blood 1, carapace 1, and 39 beetle meats. Time is still early and warmth flows from his chest. No rush, so he examines the loot. First, starting with the skill book, Spike Shell is blue and excellent, mastering Spike Shell requires an insectoid user. It grants immunity to the next attack and fully reflects it with a 60-second cooldown. Absolute invincibility does not exist in this freezing ice age. He originally thought it would require high constitution so he could pass it to Fenrir, but then he remembers the 6 insect eggs waiting back in the nursery. The female beetle had not mastered this, but if the offspring inherit it from their father, this book has a real use. Next is the equipment, the Insect Kiss Dagger. Blue quality 59 attack, swiftness boosting agility by 4, plus fatal kit, which has a chance to inflict tearing, -20 movement, and health loss while moving, with The purple heavens grace as a standard. This blue dagger is no surprise. Decent stats, but wait till you see this beautiful blade. Although called a dagger, it is clearly crafted from the beetle's forelimbs, a long, dark golden blade and slender like a scythe with serrated bone spur edges. The hilt is wrapped in chitinous carapace, warm and smooth like living tissue. Truly a work of art, not just a dagger. He hands it to Aisha, as Fenrir's rugged combat style prefers claws. Aisha, your short sword can retire. A skilled blacksmith might use the spiked forelimb to forge another insect kiss, but the female beetles only yield lower quality materials. In common stories, the females usually hold the dominant position in insected hives, but maybe not in this world. Next is the essence blood, the loot he has been most looking forward to, another bottle of essence blood, the previous shadow tiger blood pushed Fenrir to a massive evolutionary breakthrough. This purple tier dungeon beetle essence blood is transcendent, the source of the beetle's power, offering its unique abilities. A friendly system reminder advises considering physique and species, similar to the shadow tiger. Easy absorption, the insect larvae about to hatch in his territory are incredibly lucky. Everything they need to grow has been prearranged. The remaining spoils are mostly materials and ores he has little use for. Next, the biggest reward of all, an entire mana stone mine holding unimaginable value once portable heat sources spread. These mana stones would easily rival gold standard trade goods, and with Moonspring water slowly being replaced, this mine would become his ultimate money printer. First, he had to claim it. Residual rat demons remained, but the toughest boss was already dealt with. Fenrir, Aisha, and Martin split up to sweep the remaining rat demons. He also ordered them to map out the richest veins, the barren tunnels, and any scattered carts or ore. He sent his 3 companions off, returned to the campfire, and reviewed the fight. Exciting but not truly dangerous. With Life Chain, his survival was secure, but Life Chain could only be used once a day. Because of his constant exploration, he was regularly thrust into high-intensity battles. He needed a permanent way to protect his life, skills, and gear. Tier 1 monsters possessed terrifying vitality, and his squad's damage output was insufficient. Once their average level increased, he could master new spells and recruit more elites. Tomorrow morning, his second elf would finally hatch as well. Next, his personal combat reactions and skill timing needed work. Despite learning from Aisha's demonstrations, he had not fully forged his own style yet, though he understood battle rhythms. Still, Fenrir's chain had nearly struck him before he even noticed. That was a clear proof of poor battlefield awareness. Kill notifications began popping up, first in rapid succession, then slowly dying down to a complete halt. A system prompt confirmed the takeover had begun. He knew this. Mana Stone Mine was officially his. His companions returned to report their success. They reported finding 3 spots with mining traces, along with a hidden treasure. Fenrir got lucky and found a treasure chest. Talk about hitting the jackpot. He popped the lid. The system confirmed the successful opening. He obtained beast taming reins, a damaged space stone, and a watchtower construction blueprint. These rewards made him incredibly happy. Outstanding work by his scout. Fenrir, he immediately checked the stats on the beast taming reins. It was a rare blue item that could tame wild beasts as mounts. Success rates ranged from 1 to 75%. It would break after 3 uses maximum. Even with limited durability, his eyes lit up. He could use it twice, then gamble on a mutation. His shadow tiger was already hatched and growing, so it did not need the damaged space stone. That purple transcendent artifact was meant for crafting or direct inventory expansion. Equipping it inside his pack granted 10 extra slots, but removing it would shatter it completely. Held in his hand, it felt warm and smooth like jade. With 0 damage, he had to weigh his choices. Fenrir, Aisha, and Martin desperately needed space backpacks too, to avoid pushing heavy carts back to base. Still, he chose to slot it into his own pack. For 10 extra slots right now, he could always trigger a mutation later. Finally, a watchtower construction blueprint. Green tier 18 square meter plot, requiring 300 wood, 200 stone, 10 basic elemental crystals, and 30 mana stones. It unlocked real-time map alerts within 500 meters, since the tower consumed mana stones. Fuel was essential. With their spoils secured, the team headed back into the unknown. Exploring maps and gathering information was absolutely vital to him. He had enough to build a watchtower and rest at base. But he couldn't help staring up at that massive 20-meter-tall watchtower. Its special detection skill could easily locate high-energy zones within a 5-kilometer radius, completely excluding his own territory. Activating it cost 1 mana stone, boasting a 12-hour cooldown. Upgrading this Tier 1 structure required hundreds of wood, stone, and basic crystals. Plus 1 stone of true sight. Still, the active scan was incredible. He could find powerful threats within 5 kilometers, so he activated it immediately. The mana stone in the spire shattered, sending a ripple across the land. A red dot faintly appeared on his map, 4 kilometers northwest. This made complete sense, since he had cleared nearby monsters recently. After resting briefly, he took his 3 companions and rushed toward that red dot. His afternoon plan was to expand territory and hunt elite beasts. Seriously, having a cheat code map makes tracking targets so much easier. But since these targets move, they sprinted forward at absolute top speed. Otherwise, this daily scan would go entirely to waste. Soon, they heard voices. Faint conversations echoed ahead, shouting that the target was trapped. They screamed to throw spears, tighten the chains, and keep their distance. They even demanded using a mud swamp scroll without being stingy. Was it another lord hunting or local natives? He suspected the latter. Judging by the clamor, there were easily a dozen people fighting down there. He signaled his group to stay low as they climbed the ridge. Below, near a frozen river, heavily coated fighters brandished various weapons. They were desperately attacking a massive, terrifying beast standing 5 meters tall. It was a giant polar bear, towering like a mountain 100 meters away. Even from this distance, its heavy, oppressive aura was completely shocking. Their levels were only between 5 and 10, with a Tier 1 leader. Yet this polar bear was an elite level 15 boss with unbelievable strength. It was easily stronger than the dungeon beetle, thriving in this frost. Now check this out, those level 15 boss stats were absolutely terrifying. With 99 strength and 86 constitution, it possessed insane brute force. Its unique talent multiplied its physical damage potential during heavy attacks. It also had a passive skill that doubled damage against weaker foes. Activating its divine strength would double its raw physical power. It could smash the ground, causing massive area damage and slowing enemies. Finally, its ice crystal armor reduced physical damage to almost nothing. This passive armor also slowed down any nearby attackers constantly. These stats were easily the highest he had ever witnessed in this world. Boasting nearly 100 points of strength, its talent was horrifying. The natives used chains, nets, and magic scrolls to slow it down. Those clever methods restricted the beast, but that was their limit. The group lacked real offensive power, unable to pierce its thick hide. Flying arrows harmlessly bounced off an invisible shield without leaving a scratch. Still, their leader urged them to hold on, hoping it would tire. They just had to hope they could exhaust its limited stamina first. That ice shield has to have a time limit. There is no way it is invincible. Brook Harvest will AU pull the ropes, Santos yo take a breather. The rugged leader commands them calmly, but inside, bitterness is eating him alive. He deeply regrets taking this job. The city lord's gold is never easy to earn. They have thrown everything they have at this beast, and yet nothing has worked. But running away is not an option. This hunt is no children's game. You cannot just cut the line and walk away. The bear has to agree first. One loose chain, one slipping net, and that monster will tear them all to shreds. It is waiting for a single moment of weakness to pounce. Captain, the beast's shield is gone. My arrow just shattered its blue film. The light blue barrier crumbles, and suddenly, hope flares up in the leader's chest. He sees it. He can practically feel that massive bounty in his hands. This gold means retirement, a peaceful farm, and sending his son to the city. Maybe the boy could become a professional and find a beautiful wife. But a sudden, deafening explosion of sound instantly shatters his beautiful dream. He wipes his face, tasting the coppery warmth of fresh blood on his lips. The tide turns in an instant as the cornered beast suddenly explodes with power. A red light flares. It easily rips apart its heavy iron collar. Shattering its chains, the bear charges into the terrified crowd with a deafening roar. Its massive claws tear through flesh, scattering the hunters like a flock of helpless sheep. And just like that, he orders his beast to stop the bear before everyone is slaughtered. Looking at their advanced gear, he realizes these people belong to a civilized society. With his wings growing, their modest power is no threat to him. He might actually be able to establish contact with this group. But to make that happen, he needs to keep a few of them alive to guide him. Besides, he can use their help to finally bring down this monstrous bear. He had held back earlier because the battle was still evenly matched. Interrupting them too early might have looked like he was stealing their glory. Even though he does not really care, unnecessary drama is best avoided. Meanwhile, Fenrir and Aisha have already jumped into the fray against the beast. Unlike their past fights with the stitched monster and the dungeon beetle, this is different. No life chains this time, the bear is fully enraged. Fenrir abandons his direct style, keeping his distance to harass the beast. He whips his chains from afar, keeping the monster constantly distracted. Wiping blood from his eyes, the leader rallies his men. Reinforcements are here. That monster will weaken once its frenzy fades, and we still have our traps. Grab the chains and nets, he shouts, we still have a fighting chance. Think of our fallen brothers and avenge them, he roars, leading the charge. He hurls a heavy spear directly at the giant bear's face. The beast turns slightly, and the weapon barely grazes the corner of its eye. It barely hurts, but drawing blood was always the plan. The tip was coated in an irritant designed to make the monster go mad. Sure enough, the searing pain makes the bear completely forget about Fenrir. It locks eyes with the leader and charges straight toward him. It might be slow, but its terrifying power makes it an unstoppable juggernaut. With its massive 4-meter body, the beast caught up by launching off the ground on all fours. Just as the bear prepared to crush the leader with a heavy paw, it plunged into a pre-dug pit. Its red aura vanished as they threw iron nets and chains. They repeated their careful tactics, keeping the beast confined. Watching from afar, Gang Yu was amazed by their sudden discipline, especially since the beast had just slaughtered almost half of their ranks. Yet they quickly stabilized from a near rout, keeping up the attrition. This was already the second time it went berserk, but the red light flickered out fast. Shouting endless encouragement, the captain constantly harassed the wild beast with his long spear. They played it incredibly safe, focusing on constant minor strikes. They let Fenrir and Aisha handle all the direct heavy offense. Both of them were absolute powerhouses, but a subtle motive was at play. Look closely here, they were basically using those two as live bait. If the trap failed or the bear broke out again, those two would face the brunt. But Fenrir and Aisha were no fools and saw right through this cowardly scheme. They simply went their own way, never slowing down their fierce attacks. Massive strength brings massive confidence, and if things turned ugly, their escape was fully guaranteed. Fenrir could transform to retreat, and Aisha could outrun anything. Meanwhile, Gang Yu and Martin stood safely on a high ridge, calmly observing the battle. But even the most stubborn battles must eventually draw to a close. Under their relentless assault, the bear's struggles grew weaker, its roars fading. Gang Yu quietly checked the glowing red health bar, hovering right above the beast's head. It was at less than 1/10, prompting him to lead Martin down to rendezvous. Rejoining the others, the four stood together, a truly bizarre, highly unusual combination. The captain eyed him with deep suspicion, but Gang Yu stepped up and spoke first. He introduced himself as Gang Yu, explaining that the others were his trusted companions. Claiming they were just travelers offering help, Gang Yu kept his true motives completely hidden. The captain greeted him as Brother Gang Yu, introducing himself as Captain Hardy. Hardy was from Icewind Town, no time for idle chatter. He immediately suggested cooperating to finish off the massive snowfield bear. This target was specifically requested by Lord Becker of Ice Crystal City. Hardy smiled warmly, throwing those grand names around to emphasize his incredibly powerful backing. Gang Yu completely ignored his warning, not caring about some random lord. Having watched the entire battle, he had taken a real liking to this majestic polar bear. He wanted to use his beast-taming reins to claim it. He needed a clever way to claim it without causing bad blood. But before he could act, a sudden, massive twist completely ruined his plans. Hardy screamed out in absolute terror, ordering his men not to run. Gang Yu turned and saw the bear's massive body, glowing a bright crimson once more. Its divine power flared a third time, yet only Hardy charged forward. The moment the beast broke free, his soldiers abandoned him and scattered. Discipline was great, but they certainly weren't going to line up to die. When the bear went berserk earlier, everyone fled immediately. Only when the beast fell back into the trap did they return to help out. Their loyalty vanished fast the moment things turned ugly. Fighting a losing battle just didn't make sense. Fenrir and Aisha exchanged quick glances and silently chose not to act, protecting him while retreating. After all, the captain who charged ahead was already down, neck twisted. Barely breathing while watching the bear, it would fall soon, so why risk it? Sure enough, moments later, the red light faded and its aura weakened significantly. Someone yelled out that the bear was finished, urging everyone to move. Greedy for the bounty, several people from the scattered crowd immediately turned back, only to be flattened into a pile of bloody meat. Talk about instant regret. A level 15 elite, even weakened, was too strong for these weaklings. They were incredibly naive, essentially sold out by their own, he quietly sighed. With his sharp eyesight, he clearly spotted the instigator who had yelled out, running against the crowd and climbing onto the high ground he just occupied. Clearly preparing to slip away, by now the bear was exhausted, glaring fiercely at the survivors, including the 4 of them, before decisively turning around to leave. The remaining 2 natives were utterly terrified and quickly fled without looking back. He did not try to stop them. Having one person left alive on the ground was more than enough. Plus, this man held a high status, making him the perfect target to rescue. He ordered Martin to keep the man alive, then left with Fenrir and Aisha to track the snowfield bear. The path was faint, but the blood was clear. Within minutes, they arrived at a dark cave entrance where the trail ended. This was the lair. He sent his invisible shadow wolf inside to scout. He had to be careful. What if there was another bear waiting inside? The wolf soon returned, reporting a smaller beast sleeping next to the wounded parent. A cub, most likely. Following the wolf inside, they quickly spotted the injured beast. He pulled out his beast-taming reins and targeted the sleeping predator. The system scanned the level 15 target, showing his potential success rate. At 65%, he threw the reins. They whipped through the empty air. A virtual progress bar appeared over the bear as it began to struggle. The bar slowed down, even starting to reverse. His heart began to sink. Was he really about to fail that 35% chance? Just then, Aisha stepped forward, cradling a tiny bear cub, thanks to her gentle and natural aura. The little cub didn't mind her intrusion at all. It just wiggled its tiny paws in the air, letting out a soft, cute snort. Hearing this, the mother bear stopped struggling and the bar surged forward. A system prompt flashed, confirming he had successfully tamed the beast. The territory population increased by 5, bringing the total to 60. With 2 uses left on the reins, a deep mental connection was forged between him and the bear, making communication a breeze. While the mother bear continued to sleep, he turned his attention to the level 3 cub in Aisha's hands, checking its overall stats. He was stunned to see it possessed a truly extraordinary aptitude, even surpassing its parents. Talk about an incredible bargain. He tried the reins on the cub, but the success rate was a measly 33%. Frowning, he wondered if he had to knock it out first before handing the reins to Aisha, and told her to do it. She liked the cub and gladly took the reins. Progress surged. The cub joined. Population hit 60. It exceeded the normal Tier 1 limit of 50. In a few days, the second elf, Shadow Tiger Cub, and Dungeon Beetle would arrive. Reserving those slots was smart. He hugged the cub. He glanced at the sleeping father bear. Fenrir, bring Martin over immediately, he ordered. Fenrir had to guard Captain Hardy until their return. As you command, Lord, he growled. 2 holy light healings later, the massive beast was lively again. The barbarian bear sensed the mental connection, realizing his cub was totally safe. He lowered his massive head, rubbing it affectionately as his new master stroked his head, placing the cub onto his broad back. No confusion allowed. They were named Bear 1 and Bear 2. Follow the wolf back to camp. He planned to visit the village, but Bear 1 had already slain about 20 natives. Better not let enemies meet. The bear was willing, but mentioned a strange box suddenly appearing in his cave. He could not open or move it, wanting his master to inspect it. Deep in the cave sat a blue treasure chest. He opened it immediately. 2 light orbs emerged, containing a skill book and a seller blueprint. The rare blue-grade skill book had absolutely no learning conditions. Master it. He learned Thunder Leap, which consumes 100 mana. It lets him leap 50 meters, dealing heavy mixed physical and spell damage nearby. There is a slight paralysis chance. The cooldown is 150 seconds. Paralyzed targets might fail their skills. He looked at the giant 4-meter-tall bear, unable to imagine this massive beast crushing a crowd. Let your dad learn first, he will teach you. The first teaches others. He held back the eager cub, who tried to snatch the book away. He ripped the book open, sending a glowing orb into Bear 1. The massive snowfield beast had successfully mastered the Thunder Leap skill. Want to show off, he asked the bear, highly curious about his power. He remembered a game from his past life where a bear controlled lightning. The bear happily agreed, launching himself upward as lightning coiled violently around him. He leaped 50 meters into the air, crashing down with a resounding boom. The impact melted the snow instantly, leaving a giant electrified crater. Honestly, getting flattened by that attack would bring absolute, crushing death. He sent both bears back to camp with the shadow wolves before setting off. Along his journey back, he finally decided to activate the wooden cellar blueprint. It required 100 iron, providing 20 square meters of secure underground storage. Unfortunately, it only worked within territory boundaries, but it was still something. Though far inferior to advanced spatial magic, he accepted the simple shelter. Returning to Fenrir, he checked on the unconscious Captain Hardy. His subordinate Martin had followed every instruction perfectly. He fed him the glowing moonspring water, changing his plans at the last minute. He did not want to reveal his holy priest to the regional lords yet. Since his own supply was endless, he could sell it to local natives. The heavily wounded Captain Hardy would make the perfect advertisement to spread word. The captain coughed, waking up instantly while whispering in fear about that bear. Gang Yu shrugs. That snowfield bear was easily the most powerful beast around. Even with all of them working together, the monster managed to break free. It escaped. Hardy stared in shock, but Aisha interrupted him. She called him rude, pointing out they saved his life with precious holy water with no thanks. Looking at the scattered bodies and broken chains, Hardy fell silent, finally thanking Gang Yu. He asked about the holy spring, then admitted that he and his hunting party had come for the bear. Apparently, Lord Becker of Ice Crystal City had specifically ordered them to bring back its paw. Since the bear was already heavily injured, Hardy begged Gang Yu for his help. The reward would easily cover the cost of the holy water. Gang Yu rubbed his forehead. Hardy kept pushing, so Gang Yu acted completely helpless. The beast had escaped and covered its tracks, making it impossible for their small group to hunt. He suggested they head back to town to gather reinforcements. Hardy hesitated, knowing Gang Yu was right. Glancing at the sky, Hardy agreed, then asked where they were from. Judging by their strange look, Hardy asked if they were heading to Icewind Town with him. He had abandoned the hunt and finally started paying attention to his saviors. This territory belonged to Icewind Town, yet he had never seen such an unusual group of people. With a werewolf and elf and Gang Yu's eastern face, they did not look like travelers. Suddenly, realization struck Hardy like lightning. Could this be the chosen lord from the Holy Prophecy? The legendary visitor descended from another world. Gang Yu was shocked, but then he finally understood. He realized the system had seamlessly woven their sudden arrival into this world's history. He nodded. He openly admitted he was indeed the chosen lord, asking Hardy to explain further. 3 days ago, a mysterious voice had echoed in Hardy's mind, warning him of visitors. Outworlders were coming, and he shouldn't be shocked. He initially thought it was a mage's prank. But as it turned out, everyone else in town had heard the same voice. Was that really all? Gang Yu did not push further, knowing Hardy had no more answers. He only needed to know that his presence here was officially validated, perhaps even seen as heroic. A true chosen one to rally the masses. Along the road, he learned more about Icewind Town. Severe weather and terrible transport meant Hardy knew very little about other regions. The region operated on a city-state system, meaning each city was essentially its own nation. Icewind Town was ruled by Ice Crystal City, housing about 3,000 people. Founded over 30 years ago by brave pioneers, their descendants still held absolute control. The ruling class stayed in power, and the main city rarely intervened. Regular tribute kept the capital happy. Hardy himself was a pioneer descendant. Unfortunately, his family connections had dried up, and he severely lacked martial talent. He was just a mid-level captain, leading one of 8 hunting teams. He sighed, admitting he could not even afford the pensions for his fallen men. If he were the sole survivor, he could have lied about a sudden ambush. But since others lived, things were complicated. This whole hunt had been a private venture. Success would have been sweet, but this total failure meant losing his rank. Gang Yu caught the hint immediately. Was this desperate man asking for help? Talk about perfect timing. This was exactly what Gang Yu wanted. He needed an agent to sell the Moonring water without drawing suspicious eyes. Now that Hardy was pleading for aid, he could smoothly introduce the trade. It was a natural entry point. Hardy was certainly thick-skinned, though. They had saved his life, and now he wanted even more favors. Fine, a good salesman needs thick skin anyway. Gang Yu cleared his throat solemnly. He assured Hardy that his compensation was a massive issue he could handle. Pulling out a vial of the sacred spring water, he showed what saved Hardy. Getting right to the point, these natives could not view item descriptions. Otherwise, putting this on a stall would draw crowds, this natural sacred. Spring water was from ruins, with limited reserves but absolutely incredible effects. One sip could drag a tier 1 unit back from death. Pain flashed on his face. Hardy's eyes lit up, having personally experienced its miraculous power. Hearing the pitch, Hardy wondered if this rivaled the Light Temple's holy water. Not the cheap, diluted junk they used to fool the common folks with. This was the pure, light-bearing kind, carrying a trace of the Light God's divine power. It was worth an absolute fortune, requiring high faith and power to obtain. Hardy got incredibly excited, his voice trembling as he addressed Gang Yu. He stammered that this spring water could change the entire landscape of Icewind Town. No, maybe even Ice Crystal City. He was flushed and shaking as he explained. Gang Yu was stunned by his grand vision of changing the entire city. Was he aiming too high? Honestly, you have to wonder if he picked the wrong partner. Could he still switch? Fortunately, Hardy was not entirely foolish. He was just carried away. Seeing the concern on Gang Yu's face, he sobered up. Backpedaling quickly, he acknowledged the water was limited and they must target high-end buyers. Promising to handle everything, he left Gang Yu asking a rather cautious question. Would selling this offend the Light Temple? Hardy proudly patted his chest. There were no temple members in town, especially since a disaster was about to strike. They had no time to care, and their small supply would not bother them. But then, Hardy mentioned another detail. Nobles did not buy holy water just for its healing power. It was pure brand value. But wait, what did Hardy mean by a disaster? Could it be the looming undead scourge? Gang Yu decided to ask him directly. Hardy looked puzzled, wondering how anyone could be so clueless about the yearly crisis. Realizing Gang Yu was an outsider, Hardy explained that major disasters hit every single year. Sometimes a freezing drop in temperature, other times a brutal beast tide. Or even an earthquake. Gang Yu pondered this deeply. The undead scourge did not seem to be the regular natural disaster Hardy meant. Necromancers could not control weather or trigger earthquakes. Still, he could not rule out some sort of dark connection between them. He hoped it was only the undead. An earthquake would easily shatter his territory. Getting summoned to a fantasy world was definitely not a vacation. Hardy tried to comfort him, noting the Light Temple always handled these disasters. For normal citizens, worrying was pointless. Gang Yu had to focus on spending money. He needed to trade with the natives for resources like food, ore, or skill books. But rare blueprints were exclusive to lords. Nobody would trade them. Gang Yu shook his head. He first needed to see what Icewind Town offered. Their party of 4 followed Hardy for nearly an hour before the guide pointed ahead. According to the map, it was just 10 kilometers from his territory, which was close. Soon, a cluster of low-lying buildings came into view at the mountain foot. Nearly 1,000 houses lay, cleanly divided by 2 major crossroads. The town is split into 4 zones around a central square, with farmlands. These fields are protected by snow shelters, alongside fenced pens for livestock. Husbandry is highly developed, no other choice. They must support 3,000 people. Perhaps he can buy seeds and livestock here. Hardy gestures for them to follow. Back home, the captain is incredibly confident. Head held high, he leads them. 4 gated entrances, guard towers everywhere. Suddenly, several guards rush out in disbelief. They gasp that Captain Hardy is still alive. He calmly asks who claimed he died. He proudly announces that a passing chosen lord wishes to trade, demanding entry. The guards immediately lower their weapons. The young lord quickly checks their stats. They are just level 5 to 8 militia. The guards sigh in relief. Everyone hopes this is just a trade mission, but a storm is brewing. Ignoring their quiet whispers, the young lord follows Hardy down the main street. Locals sit on animal skins by their doors, selling wood, ore, and vegetables. Milk and crafts are hawked loudly. The crowd watches them with intense curiosity. They wonder why Captain Hardy is so polite, whispering about these strange lords. He isn't surprised by the attention. living in this brutal cold year-round. The locals have developed a completely different appearance from any average outsider. Even without Fenrir and Aisha, he and Martin would stand out immediately. Anyone can see he is an outsider, making a local guide absolutely crucial. He ignores the chatter, focusing entirely on studying the layout of this town. Shops line both sides of the street, featuring busy blacksmiths and local tailors. They sell basic weapons, tools, and winter gear. He marks the tailor's shop. He marks it on his system map, planning to return once he has gold coins. Soon, the group reaches the bustling central plaza of Icewind Town. Merchants shout out, offering special cold root meat meant for the city's masters. It costs just 50 copper coins per gin, with very limited stock available. Others peddle rare frost moon tea from Snowfield City to boost talent. It goes for 10 silver coins a can. Meanwhile, Lord Charles' mansion is hiring. They need 3 workers experienced in farming and animal husbandry. The job offers 50 copper coins a month, with room and board included. Conscription flyers call for healthy men under 30 for military service. They are also recruiting adventurers of level 10 and above for a hunt. The mission is to capture a snowfield bear for 20 silver coins. Hearing this, Hardy mutters that the city lords offered 10 gold coins instead. The young lord ignores his grumbling, focusing on the market's purchasing power. The chatter gives him a clear idea of how valuable currency actually is. Just a few copper coins can feed an ordinary citizen for a whole day. A commoner working hard for a month cannot even earn 1 silver coin. Yet high-level fighters can make several silver or even gold per mission. Meanwhile, the wealthy elite throw money away just to satisfy their expensive tastes. The natural sacred spring he plans to sell is aimed at those wealthy buyers. With clients like that, he is guaranteed to make a massive fortune soon. Suddenly, a shout about fresh mana items catches his eye, leading them over. He walks over and picks up a pitch-black object on the stall, asking what it is. The merchant praises his sharp eye, claiming it was dug up 2 days ago. He found a mana stone still embedded inside it, after their repeated attempts. This item activated when they inserted the stone, producing a nice heating effect. Just imagine the convenience. Lloyd eagerly promoted his heat source. Beside them, Hardy scoffed in a sarcastic voice, asking, "So you only have one? What good is one if it requires a precious mana stone? Don't you know how rare those stones are?" Lloyd was not about to be bullied and retorted directly, "Captain Hardy, I am just doing my business. Am I bothering you?" The Lord raised a hand to stop Hardy, saying he was quite interested in these little things. He would take them all and settle the bill. Lloyd raised a single finger, 1 gold coin, warning that the mana stone was not included. If he wanted the stone, it would cost an extra 10 silver. He checked his 83 units of mana stones and 17 units of moonspring water in his pack. He was indeed very rich, but was this Lloyd trying to fleece him like an absolute idiot? He mused, 1 gold is too expensive. He did not have that much cash. You call this a mana stone? 10 silver each. He happened to have 2 mana stones on him to trade for these few small toys of his, a pretty harsh counteroffer. Lloyd hesitated, then agreed. Deal. The Lord noticed a quick flicker of joy in the merchant's eyes, satisfied with the price. His hesitation was just fear of a refusal. He did not bother dwelling on it because the portable heat source was merely a facade. The other item on the stall was the real prize, trading 2 mana stones for it was a massive profit. The Alf Kinetic Accelerator accessory could be mounted on specific firearms to provide some pretty powerful effects. Once mounted, the firearm gained accuracy, projectile speed, range, and attack power. It was a relic from an unknown, shattered era. This could be equipped to Heaven's Grace, boosting Aisha's combat power. It was clearly something 2 mere mana stones could never compare to. What specific enhancements would only be known after installation. He would wait until he returned to his territory to find out. After gaining an advantage, it was best to quietly make a fortune. He discovered that chosen lords had a significant trading advantage over natives. They could see the specific information on items that the natives could not. Early contact had its benefits. Once other chosen lords made contact, this ability would surely be exposed, making bargain picking much harder. A voice yelled, "Captain Hardy, you killed my man and you still have the nerve to wander here. Looks like trouble," he muttered. He told Hardy to handle his personal matters first, adding that he would look around on his own. He would return in 2 days, hoping Hardy had found a suitable buyer for him. With that, he led Fenrir and Aisha into a grain store nearby, refusing to get involved, after learning more about his own chosen Lord status. Making Hardy his exclusive agent was no longer the only option, perhaps. Making him a collaborator was much more appropriate. Pushing open the grain store door, a wave of cozy warmth washed over him. Inside, 2 fireplaces burned brightly at 5 degrees. It was his first time feeling above zero. Icewind Town's bonfire level was pretty high. No wonder it thrived. What would his own Crystal City be like? As he was staring at the warm fireplace, the shop owner's voice pulled him back, saying she heard a chosen lord had arrived. She presumed it was him. The lazy woman, leaning on the counter gracefully, stood up, welcomed him, and asked how she could help her esteemed guest. He shifts his gaze to the goods on the counter, examining the various grain samples. He asks for seed recommendations to take back, leaving the shopkeeper slightly hesitant. She believes a lord must choose carefully, since most seeds need specific environments. They will not survive easily. The proprietor hesitates, offering a quiet warning. She worries that if he buys them and they fail, she will get blamed. Normally, she wouldn't care, but he is a chosen lord with powerful allies. The presence of the 2 behind him is extraordinary, prompting her to speak. He asks if there are seeds with much simpler requirements, catching the detail. She nods and gracefully retrieves a special box containing some rye. It is extremely cold-resistant, able to germinate in ultra-low temperatures. These are her prize seeds, though taste is poor. He scans them with his system. He is left speechless. Aside from survival, they have absolutely no other strengths. In a place like Icewind Town, these seeds normally just collect dust. But that does not concern her. He immediately points out several other choices. He orders 4 crops on the spot: sweet potatoes, winter wheat, rapeseed, and rye. The shopkeeper is completely surprised. A chosen lord is truly built different. Farming requires immense knowledge. Most farmers specialize in just one crop. They farm just to survive, but this guy is basically playing on creative mode. But that is none of her business. The total comes to 2 silver coins. She reminds him that crops take time to grow, suggesting he buy grain too. This matches his plans perfectly. He is tired of eating meat every single day. Plus, the seeds are incredibly cheap, enough for several acres for 2 silver. He decides to spend more, ordering 1,000 caddies of sweet potatoes and 1,000 of wheat. Her breath catches at the massive order. This is nearly her entire monthly sales. She beams with absolute joy. Normally, 1,000 sweet potatoes cost 50 silver, and wheat costs 35, totaling 85 silver. Profits are low, but she offers a generous discount. She charges 80 silver and throws the seeds in for free. He nods. He admits he lacks silver, but she happily offers to make change for gold. With a smile, he instead hands over a bottle of moonspring water. It is a sacred spring with healing powers that rival holy temple water. She accepts it with clear doubt, examining the precious liquid very closely. Natives cannot read item screens, but she has her own ways to tell. She asks for a taste, dipping her finger in with his permission. She tastes it. Instantly, all the fatigue from her hard workday completely vanishes. She feels incredibly refreshed. It clearly restores stamina and relieves fatigue. However, she still wants to verify its actual healing power on wounds. Shortly after, they follow her to a nearby, dimly lit tavern. The place is bustling with loud chatter and clinking glasses. Their sudden entry draws every single eye directly to beautiful Aisha. Most patrons are rough adventurers who face death daily to make a living. They drink to numb themselves, their eyes lighting up at her beauty. Yet these men are observant, noticing the shopkeeper walking right beside them. They also spot his gorgeous companion's pointed, elf-like ears. They remain seated quietly, merely raising their voices to boast a little louder. The crowd lacked enthusiasm, leaving Candace quite disappointed. She had hoped some hothead would jump out so she could save money. She asked if anyone was willing to cooperate with her for a quick experiment, drawing everyone's focus before going straight to the point. She had a bottle of medicine that cured severe injuries and wanted to test the effects. Anyone willing to help would earn 1 silver coin. Hearing this, our hero was stunned. To test this, someone had to get hurt first, badly. One wrong move could easily kill them, plus nobody knew if it worked. Risking your life for 1 silver coin, talk about a bad deal. However, things quickly took an unexpected turn. One adventurer called Candace stingy. Others agreed. Captain Hardy was offering a much higher price earlier. A full 10 silver coins. Another patron wondered if the item in question was the legendary natural sacred spring. The tavern buzzed with excitement. Captain Hardy had moved incredibly fast, but what happened next left him utterly speechless. A sacred spring rivaling holy water, complete joke. How could anyone leech off its reputation like that? Did Hardy mess up? The thought crossed his mind, but the healing effects were absolutely undeniable. Amid the mocking laughter, Candace's face flushed red with anger. She was ready to lash out when a short man whispered an urgent summons. This mysterious figure was the wealthy tavern owner. A true powerhouse of Icewind Town, Candace instantly calmed down. Soon, he realized Hardy had actually found a highly influential partner for him. This partner, Evans Ted, was a greedy merchant who wanted a complete monopoly. To hide the spring's true power, he proposed a long-term business deal. Evans Ted reintroduced himself as the wealthy owner of the Wild Boar Tavern. He was also a prominent manager at the powerful Ice Crystal Chamber of Commerce. He promised massive profits from distant cities while keeping the boy completely safe. From the Light Temple, on top of that, Evans had a rare subprofession. As an expert appraiser, he identified the liquid as precious moon spring water. He stopped there, heavily implying he knew his secret. His heart hammered wildly. He had never even heard of subprofessions inside this virtual world before. This reality differed greatly from the game he knew. The item description was just simple moonwell water, yet Evans was pushing for a long-term deal. How could the merchant possibly know he had an unlimited supply of it? He quickly lied, claiming he had simply stumbled upon some ancient elven ruins. He politely turned down the long-term partnership, but Evans did not push. He assured the young man that, as a merchant, he only sought wealth. They could start by trading just a fraction of the sacred spring water. If he happened to find more in the future, they could trade again. To show his sincerity, the merchant paid up front. The young man readily agreed. It did not matter if the merchant was lying, because he possessed absolute self-confidence. Just 4 days after the transmigration, he was strong enough to defeat level 15 elite monsters. The chosen lord grew faster than any native. This trade made him instantly rich, netting 8 gold coins for a single bottle of moon spring water. He quickly led his companions back to camp. At the grain store, Candace watches enviously as they trade 70 silver. Darkness is already falling, forcing him to skip buying cattle and sheep. He needs to return. Freezing on the road is definitely not the plan. The journey is safe. With Fenrir and Aisha, tracking them is impossible. Across the open snow, they have zero chance. Back home, people are shouting. They are making a massive fuss over Bear 1 and Bear 2. Arguing these giants must have been conquered by his strength. The bears scurry over. Both monsters bow in submission, leaving everyone completely stunned. Loyalty skyrockets. Gil's trust rises to 90 and G's hits 88. Still, they worry. He reassures them that food is no longer a worry, tossing down crops. The polar people cheer wildly, especially the original 4 who started this camp. Their trust keeps growing. Gil immediately works overtime to expand the nursery and plant these seeds. Self-sufficiency is crucial. Next, he inspects the random firearm parts he acquired. The kinetic accelerator accessory mounts on specific firearms. It boosts accuracy, velocity, and attack power. Exact stats will show once installed on Heaven's Grace. He hands it over to Aisha. As she touches the rifle, the items automatically merge. An upgraded Heaven's Grace appears, glowing with a bright purple light. The weapon's attack power surges to over 500 points. Magazine capacity also increases, jumping from 6 rounds to 8. Bullet generation improves to every 2 hours, plus a massive accuracy boost. Range and damage are significantly increased. This is an awesome surprise. The original enchanted magazine is enhanced, creating a powerful linkage effect. By tonight, all 8 bullets can be enchanted, giving a chance for instant death. Aisha's strength is heavily buffed, combined with the bears and tomorrow. Morning's new elf mutation, tomorrow will be a massive day. Suddenly, his stomach growls. He needs to eat first, so he orders 2 polar people to cook. While they prepare dinner, he browses the market and checks the global chat. Filtering for highlights, he sees Wango bragging about a rare treasure chest. He scored a recruitment scroll, a skill book, and 1,000 points. Jiang Wu claims a native village named him Chosen Lord, giving him supplies. Zaka complains about terrible luck after meeting traveling merchants with empty pockets. Another survivor, Bell, shares helpful navigation tips for the frozen plains. Every leader is finding unique opportunities. Suddenly, his private inbox explodes. Tan Shangu warns him about a jerk named Zhu Gang who is stirring up trouble. He is constantly rallying the World Channel to target his base. It brings back terrible memories. We all have that one nightmare roommate, right? Zhu Gang slept all day, gamed all night, and refused to wear headphones. He would hide the remote and cut the power whenever he left the room. The roommates unanimously voted him out of the dorm after talking to their advisor. Back then, he did not care much. Everyone has a toxic roommate story. But now Zhu Gang is pushing it. He better hope his coordinates stay hidden. He immediately posts a message in the regional channel offering a massive bounty. Anyone with Zhu Gang's exact coordinates can trade them for a portable stove. The heat source was just a side project because the market for Moonring water was tiny. So he took this opportunity to build up some hype for his portable heaters. The gap between him and Zhu Gang was huge. His rival had a 3-digit rating. Roadside fodder, yet his bounty caused a massive storm in the regional chat. Han Zhang tagged Zhu Gang, offering 1,000 wood rebate just to get his coordinates. Talk about an insane bounty, but his heater was about to change everything. They tagged him for blueprints. Daytime was short and travel wasted half of it. With his new heater, he should easily break into the top 10. For now, it was a luxury item. Only the big bosses could afford it. He just had to wait for the hype to spread. High rankers wanted the heater. They knew it let them explore much longer. He sat by the fire, munching on a sweet potato while scrolling through private messages. He soon had 2 trades lined up, including a bear strength potion blueprint. It was an excellent blue-tier formula that refined standard strength potions. This potion temporarily boosted strength and physique, depending on the main ingredient. It required 50 milliliters of bear blood, along with tiger strength grass and cedar needles. The recipe also needed black rock honey. His other trade was an excellent blue frost orb. This weapon granted +5 attack power and a 5% chance to trigger a slowing frost strike. Since his portable heater was so desirable, he easily secured the potion blueprint. The recipe cost 2 heaters and 10 mana stones, while the orb cost 2 heaters and 5 stones. No spare heaters left, but he did not plan on leaving his territory anyway. The ingredients were common, except for the bear blood. He silently eyed his 2 pet bears. While Bear 1 and Bear 2 devoured meat, he directly learned the blueprint. A prompt appeared. Each lord could only master 1 major crafting category. Since he already mastered heaters as mana items, it conflicted with the potion category. To learn this potion, he would have to completely forget his portable heater technique. It did not matter. Making everything himself was far too exhausting anyway. He gave it to Aisha, but she quickly realized she could not learn it either. The recipe required a potion foundation. He frowned, realizing he needed to find skilled natives. Without talented natives, advanced blueprints like this were completely useless to him. He relaxed quickly. The trading price was just a drop in the bucket. He planned to mutate the frost orb tomorrow, but this potion joined the queue. He tossed away his sweet potato skin and prepared to practice. Just as he was about to start, a panting gill rushed in, yelling about the nursery. The incubator finally hatched. Prepare yourselves, this cub is an absolute powerhouse. 3 whole days, he immediately rushed over to the nursery. Inside, a fluffy little tiger was clawing at a nearby ice crystal fruit tree. He picked up the tiny beast, moving it away before opening its attribute screen. As expected of an extraordinary creature, this little guy was incredibly lively. It was an excellent level 1 shadow tiger with a damage-reducing talent. It reduced physical damage by 20% and possessed the powerful Intimidate skill. Why was there no territory prompt? Did he still need a beast-taming ring? Suddenly, the cub roared, exerting a heavy pressure on him. Gil collapsed, gasping. This tiny creature was surprisingly fierce. He scooped up the little cub. That mighty roar had completely drained its energy. With no escape, the cub closed its eyes and finally gave up. In this brutal world, size means combat power, and this hungry cub needed food. Smelling the meat, the cub leaped and devoured it instantly. Still hungry, it stared up eagerly, so he knelt to rub its furry head. Follow me and you will get plenty of meat, he promised. Their territory population grew to 70, but feeding everyone made his heart bleed. Oreo quickly finished off his second helping of delicious beetle meat. Meat was incredibly scarce. Still, he comforted himself. Appetite meant power. Still, high appetite meant strength, so he tried calling the beast Big Cat. Little Furball glared, clearly hating the cheap name, along with his other suggestions. Finally, he tried naming him Oreo, and the cub happily rushed over, panting. He wondered if the beast even understood the name, but at least it was happy. Heading back to the bonfire, he prepared to practice his spells. He introduced Oreo to G, giving a firm warning to not bully the little guy. He cast 16 fireballs inside the tree hole, no progress. Each cast still took 2 full seconds, barely hitting 30 meters. But he was learning, he now knew when to strike. Day 5 arrived. With the countdown ticking, he began mutating items. He selected the Brute Bear Strength Blueprint for today's attempt. The potion blueprint shimmered, transforming into something entirely different. Beast Race Witch Doctor Recruitment Scroll, a legendary drop. This blue-tier scroll was a fantastic find, guaranteeing an elite recruit. A level 5 witch doctor with incredible skills was waiting. He tore open the scroll. Watch this summon, it is wild. A massive totem pole crashed from the sky, burying itself in deep snow. Detailed carvings of beasts covered the wood: bear, eagle, snake, and tiger. A gaunt figure appeared, wrapped in tattered robes and a dark hood. Only green skin and sharp fangs showed in the shadows. The territory population hit 75. He stepped forward, announcing his presence. The witch doctor Wajan Fang reported for duty, bowing deeply. Behind him, Fenrir gasped, "Oh my goodness, a witch doctor." They cast powerful blessings. Only the strongest tribes can produce them. "Lord, your power is unfathomable." The Lord nodded at Wajan Fang. "Welcome," he said, eager to inspect the level 5 elite's powerful stats. With spirit at 33 and high constitution, his stats were massive. His custom potions gained 50% efficiency, alongside rare totem skills. Totem spirits provided heavy group buffs, though switching had a cooldown. Bear's tenacity boosted health by 20% while reducing pain. Eagle's eye increased range, while snake's venom inflicted deadly poison. Tiger's rage boosted speed and attack power by 10%. It also boosted spell strength, though some totems remained locked. His unique throw skill turned any potion into a massive mist. This hit targets at 80% of oral consumption, terrifying support. This totem power was a complete cheat code for them. While highly versatile, the potion expert trait was the real prize. This incredible combo was likely why mutating the scroll worked perfectly. The Lord asks Wajan which potions he knows. Wajan reports they all rely on totem power. First up, there is the bear's tenacity and snake's venom. He also knows tiger's rage and eagle's eye. The Lord asks how they stack. Potency depends on blood quality, but they can stack with totem spirits. For now, only one type can be active at a time. If they stacked, his army's power would skyrocket, and Wajan hints a way is possible. He focuses on 2 specific formulas: bear's tenacity and tiger's rage. He asks what auxiliary materials these potions need, besides beast warrior blood. He wants Wajan to refine them immediately to test out their actual effects. He chose these because they are universal, and his territory already has the main ingredients. He tells Fenrir to step forward. The Lord pats his belly, and the loyal beast slaps his own chest, roaring in agreement. To Fenrir, a little bleeding is nothing if it makes the whole squad stronger. He praises Fenrir, telling the young beast Oreo to watch and learn from him. Oreo throws a tantrum, so Aisha reminds the Lord he is still a child. He agrees. Meanwhile, Wajan is already busy at work, preparing his bottles and jars. Soon, he whips up 3 batches of the bear's tenacity potion. The potion grants +8 physique for 15 minutes, with a 30-minute cooldown. It is not recommended for anyone with a base physique below 8. Even with lordly buffs, his own physique is only 9. This bottle practically doubles his strength. With Wajan's skill, the boost reaches nearly 10, turning it into a group buff. The overall effect is enhanced, and crucially, the 15-minute duration increases. It now lasts 18 minutes, with the cooldown dropping to just 25. Since the potency scales with Fenrir's blood quality, this has massive potential. As the beast grows stronger, the potion will become absolutely terrifying. With support like this, the Lord's grand ambitions are guaranteed to succeed. He orders Fenrir to cooperate with Wajan to brew more potions before they depart. Next, he lays out an arrow, fruit, wood, mana stone, and a regular stone. These are today's targets for the mutation pool, and he tells Oreo to choose. Oreo lunges straight for the ice crystal fruit, but the Lord grabs him by the neck. He scolds the greedy cub for wanting to eat right after having a full meal. He hands him a snack. Random mutation is all about luck. The system triggers an unstable mutation, turning the fruit into 12 ways to eat it. Wait, what? The positive rate is 0, and it is just a literal cookbook. The description is completely literal. He sighs at his terrible luck. He gives Oreo another chance, keeping him away from the fruit this time. Oreo hesitates, picking things up, before finally choosing a simple iron arrow. He nudges the Lord's leg, carefully keeping the sharp arrow tip pointed away. The iron arrow undergoes an unstable mutation, transforming into the moon coronet longbow. Now that is a massive upgrade. The Lord happily rubs the little beast's head. The weapon is a striking silver-white, featuring an elegant, simple design. Mysterious runes are etched onto the bowstring, emitting a cool, soothing energy. Drawing the string, faint moonlight and shimmering stars begin to swirl around it. He knows immediately that this is top-tier equipment. It is a purple, extraordinary weapon. It grants plus 108 attack power and plus 9 agility. Knight summoning 12 moonlight beams to strike the target, with each beam dealing 100% attack plus 100% spell as mixed damage, with a chance to trigger new moon or waning moon, with 30, 15, and 5% full moon probabilities. Adding 20/50 and doubling the damage under the silver moon, activating Moonlight Flow, which boosts attack speed by 50% and allies by 20 for 10 seconds. This gear is one step from epic, needing only to join an epic battle. Holy crap, they could even call him cursed, putting this next to heavens. Grace, another extraordinary weapon, completely obliterated it. The difference between these two extraordinary items was greater than between an extraordinary tier. In a trash white item, it had lower attack than Heaven's Grace, but this was a bow. Its attack was tied to him, and the three effects grew more terrifying. The lunar eclipse ability could even change regional celestial phenomena, making it perfect for Aisha, matching her moon god's arrow. The other two effects instantly solved their low damage output problem, with Aisha equipping this. He couldn't even imagine her strength. The bow was hers, he decided, the moment he saw it. Even before checking stats, he chose the moon coronet longbow. Aisha was a silver moon elf, perfectly matching her cool, aloof temperament, as if made for her. He handed her the legendary bow and arrow.